that hearing, explaining how Signal was put on his phone the day he walks in at CIA. I think what we need to do here is not to carry this on longer. That will harm the administration. Answer it exactly as President Trump said. It is a learning situation. Let's find out why he was on your phone. People have missed texts before, but how did his number get in there? If Mike Waltz had never talked to him before, that's a concern. Somehow it's on there. And then learn from this moment about moving forward, not to do this again. That's all that has to be said, and to continue to move. My only question to Goldberg is, though, why did you wait so long? Why didn't you just pick up the phone and then call the Secretary of Defense and ask him about this? I mean, we have in history a lot of times press during wartime or others when they found something out to work with your government. He could still write the story, but did he hold it just because he wanted to embarrass somebody a day before a hearing and they not know what's happening? That's another question I would have. But at the very end, learn from this experience. It's not giving the coordinates of where it was going. So is it embarrassing? Yes, admit that, and change the direction and make sure you correct this behavior not to do it again.
Well, and Jeffrey Goldberg will have to answer about the timing, but I do think it's interesting. He could have done it the other way too, which is to immediately say something, look at these bozos, look at what they provided to me, and then...
Don't pay anything to fix your roof. New York City homeowners can get a free roof while paying zero out of pocket, saving upwards of...
Come on. Why is everything not working?
Look at what they provided to me, and then that would have compromised the mission, and then we all wouldn't be able to say it was a successful mission because it could have been compromised. But I want to ask you this, because I thought President Trump handled this as a commander-in-chief leader should.
Yes.
For how he wants to handle it. He said, that was not good. We learned a lesson. He's staying with me, Michael Waltz. He's fine. He's going to stay with me. But we all learned a lesson. We're going to get to the bottom of it. Let's keep going. And then rubbing the spot on the wall is not necessarily helping. I'm like, the President of the United States just gave you the way forward. Why not just follow him?
If they all followed President Trump yesterday, we wouldn't be talking about this today. That's the problem. And I think follow what President Trump said. They learned their lesson. They're going to correct it. They're going to find out why he was in the phone. And remember, this is a brand new administration, but they carried out the mission they were asked to do correctly. Mm-hmm. Now, it didn't go perfectly in the communications, so just correct the communications. And it's learning to work together. And some of these people are new to the administration, are new to working in government. So yes, you're going to make some communication errors there. That's expected. Just correct it and move forward.
Okay, just to play this soundbite real quick. Waltz was on last night with Laura. Let's go ahead and listen to it before we push forward here. Watch from last night.
A staffer wasn't responsible, and look, I take full responsibility. I built the group. I guess the Democrats were fine to leave all the sea lanes shut down. We're fine to have destroyers fired on dozens of times by this terrorist group, and fine to have Iran keep supplying them missiles. That was okay. The president takes decisive action, and now we're seeing some real success in taking down their air defenses, opening the sea lanes.
Okay, so I mean that's really important stuff, and that really goes to your point. The mission was successful. Was it a screw up? Yes. Is it embarrassing? Yes. Did you like the reporter? No, you haven't liked the reporter in years. But don't come out and go after the reporter if you know that he's got the goods, and at some point they're going to be in print, which they are right now. So, Kevin, thank you, sir, for working through that with us today. Kevin McCarthy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News.
I apologize for the audio problem that I had with this video here, and also the audio problem that I had with the live stream on YouTube. I did fix that. So we're live streaming. Everything's okay now with Rumble, the simulcast with X Spaces, and the live stream with YouTube with the telemetry. Unfortunately, about 2 hours into the show, the YouTube version looks like maybe the audio was not working. I'm also live streaming on my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Click the link in this video description or any video that I do to get to my website. getting a probiotic is really important. I have two types. I have a powdered version and a VeggieCap version. Both are very high quality. With the powdered version, there's a little scooper. Just put it in soft foods like hummus or yogurt or even applesauce or just filtered water. However you want to take it every day. But both of these probiotics are very high quality, and it's important to have a good probiotic to bring down inflammation in the gut, to improve you absorbing your nutrients. And when you do that, you're bringing down that inflammation, and you're actually helping your immune system in your gut. You're increasing the mucosal lining. You're getting the proper microbial concentrations, and you're improving your IgAs, which are your antibodies that are in the mucosal lining of your gut. When you improve your gut, you're going to improve your skin, your hair, and your nails. And when you improve your gut, you're improving your metabolism and your communication between your gut and your liver and your gut and your brain. With a good gut biome, you're going to be able to sleep better. You're going to be less irritable. And research has been showing that a good gut biome may mitigate early onsets of dementia. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get your gut in health, in a healthy state, and you're going to see other systems of your body improving too. So it's a dual purpose. Not only are you improving your gut, you're improving other systems in your body, like your brain, like your liver, like your immune system. So please go to my store and get the powdered version, or the VeggieCap version. Use discount 5 and you get $5 off any order. All right. Let's go to Al Jazeera here.
Denmark's government has welcomed the U.S. decision to previous.
I'm not really interested in that. Let's go to live now with the testimony with the text here.
Classification standards. I want to now turn my attention to your classification standards. You're the Director of National Intelligence.
I don't understand why it keeps on.
Classification guide says, quote, information providing indication or advance warning that the U.S. or its allies are preparing for an attack. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
Director Gabbard, have the Houthis indicated an ability to shoot down American aircraft?
Yes.
They have in fact done so, haven't they?
Yes.
Including MQ-9 Reapers, haven't they?
That's correct.
And that was one of the systems used in the attack recently that's the subject of this discussion, is it not?
Correct.
General Cruz, are you familiar with this system?
I'm not wearing my glasses at the moment, but...
Well, I'll help you out. This is an SA-3 anti-aircraft system.
Correct.
Are you familiar with this next system?
I am.
What is it?
I'm going to have to ask you.
It's an SA-6.
I'm going to guess that...
This is also an advanced anti-aircraft system, is it not?
It is. It was used widely in the Balkans in the 90s, correct?
And the Houthis also have this system, don't they?
They certainly do.
And they've employed it against our aircraft, have they not?
They have attempted to, correct.
I spent my life in service to this country. I deployed 3 times to combat in service to this nation. I learned in that time in service that responsibility is core to leadership. You accept responsibility when things go wrong. You admit mistakes. You set the standard from the very top. It is completely outrageous to me that administration officials come before us today with impunity, no acceptance of responsibility, excuse after excuse after excuse, while we send our men and women downrange to do incredibly difficult, incredibly dangerous things on our behalf. And yet, nobody is willing to come to us and say this was wrong. This was a breach of security, and we won't do it again. It is outrageous, and it is a leadership failure, and that's why Secretary Hegseth, who undoubtedly transmitted classified, sensitive operational information via this chain, must resign immediately. There can be no fixes, there can be no corrections until there is accountability, and I'm calling on the administration to move forward with accountability. I yield back.
The gentleman yields. Gentleman from Texas, Mr. Crenshaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here. Good to see many of you again. And thank you for enduring 2 long days. I will note I always use fire emojis when I see terrorists getting killed. And I want to talk about cartels. This is a subject that is near and dear to my heart. I've been investigating it thoroughly for the last couple of years. And I'm glad to see that it's mentioned in all of your opening statements. I mentioned it at the very beginning of the threat assessment. There's a lot to work on here. One of our task force, we had a cartel task force in Congress. One of our key findings was that there needs to be a centralized, maybe call it authority, or maybe call it office, maybe call it cartel czar within the administration that actually coordinates all the very different aspects of fighting this battle. Has anything like that been talked about? I'll get you this, Director Gabbard.
Thank you, Congressman. It's good to see you again. This is very much central to the conversations and planning and execution of the president's focus on targeting the cartels and the threats that they pose to the American people. Homeland security task forces are being set up that include across the government integration. I can speak from my standpoint from the intelligence community, and our National Counterterrorism Center is leaning heavily forward into gathering and consolidating and integrating the intelligence that comes from DEA and others who've been working this issue for a while to make it so that it can be shared and integrated through the federal, state, and local law enforcement equities who are going after this problem.
Yeah, we'll talk a lot more about that exact thing in closed session, but at a higher level, our recommendation is there needs to be someone at a much higher level that coordinates state, DOD, CIA, FBI, Homeland. It's a massive problem. One I'm also familiar with. Director Patel, the FBI is tasked with working foreign corruption charges. In the past administration, the FBI told me they actually don't focus on Mexico very much. Because now to their defense, they say the reason is because they won't get anything out of it, because they don't have a cooperative government to work with. I think a lot has changed. Do I have your commitment that we will at least start following up on those, because the judiciary system in Mexico is a key component in our failures to address the cartels?
You do, Congressman. Apologies for not getting back to you sooner.
You're good. I appreciate it. I also want to ask you that the FBI has disrupted an alarming number of terrorist attacks in the last 2 years. Great on the FBI for doing that. I don't think many Americans realize how good the FBI has been at this. But this also gets to the conversation earlier about FISA 702. One of the main arguments I wanted to argue with my colleagues on this was when you have a warrant process for the query, what you will fail to do is connect the dots between the domestic and the international threat, and those connections are there, as we see all the time.
Now, does everyone remember? This is the reason why you listen to Dr. Paul Cottrell, because Dr. Paul Cottrell is never wrong. All right. Well, didn't you remember when I said that when Trump gets into office and with him restructuring the national security state, that the national security state is going to have a hissy fit? Because when you restructure, you cut budget, you get rid of key members of the cabal, within the national security state. They get upset, and there's a high probability of a 9/11-like event to happen in 2025 or 2026 to harm the president's administration, and to have Congress fund the national security state even more. All right? If you have a president that's pulling money away from the national security state and trying to restructure it, trying to root out some of the problems that are happening in the national security state, doesn't it make sense that the national security state cabal will orchestrate an event where it'll be similar to 9/11, only to go to Congress and ask for more money, larger staff, more agencies, more coordination? You listen to One-Eye McCain, all right? And where did he just lay the foundation for? Lack of communication, not being able to connect the dots between domestic and international networks that may be harming or potentially harming the homeland. Doesn't that sound like 9/11? I'm not wrong. I'm telling you, I'm not wrong. So what's going to happen is that once Trump continues on restructuring the national security state, and Hegseth really puts a hammer to some of the things that have been happening at the Pentagon, there's a high potentiality of seeing a 9/11 like event happening in 2025 or 2026. Now, what kind of event? Not sure. Is it going to be a plane into a building? Probably not. But there'll be something that will stir the consciousness of the American citizen and launch an investigation on how to improve and how to maintain and expand the national security state. And One-Eyed McCain just set it up.
We are going to do a full investigation of it. Our responsibility as oversight is to understand this breach, understand who leaked information, how that happened, and then hold those responsible. I 100% agree with the chairman in his opening statement. He said where trust is breached, those responsible need to be held accountable. So do I have, Director Gabbard, we served together, we came into Congress together. Do I have your word? When this investigation is fully completed, we will get the full breadth of the investigation.
Thank you, Congressman. That would be my intent. I will caveat that by saying that this is being conducted by the National Security Council. I've not gotten any indication that they would try to withhold that, but I can't speak for them.
Okay. I also, I see way too much politics when it comes to our national security and our national defense. We've got to keep politics out of this. We're not Democrats or Republicans. We're Americans. We're tasked with the responsibility of keeping our country safe. Director Gabbard,
I'm gonna do a market update here. The S&P 500 is trading at 5,748. VIX is trading at 17.70. The Euro USD is trading at 1.07. Oil is trading at $69.93. BITO ETF for Bitcoin long is trading at 19.27, and the USD Japanese yen is trading at 150.68. So you see that the yen is weakening compared to the last show that I did covering the market. So stress in the international markets seem to be less. VIX is trading at 17, so that's a decent level. But equities is still trading down today. So equities are down, but S&P 500 is down 27 points. And Bitcoin is trading down, so it looks like there's a positive correlation between equities and Bitcoin. All right, with that, let's go to Al Jazeera. I guess there's some shelling updates going on here.
Primarily aim to push civilians out of the northern part of the Strip to the western areas where today have received evacuation orders. Many families have started to move southwards here in areas in cities like Deir el-Balah, Al-Maghazi, Al-Muzarat, and Al-Burij, a refugee camp where there have been already overcrowded shelters and areas that have been repeatedly targeted by the Israeli military. We need to remind our viewers that the Israeli military is gradually passing more evacuation orders as a part of the military ground campaign in the Strip. And in fact, to make it much more clear, the Israeli military might be preparing for expanding more military ground operations in Gaza City, which will absolutely force thousands of families to evacuate these areas and moving back again to areas that they used to take it as a refuge and they were have bombed inside.
Thank you very much for that. That is Tarek Abu Azum with the latest live in Deir al-Balah in central Gaza. Still ahead on Al Jazeera, the UK's finance minister announced an increase in the defence budget as the country's growth is forecast to halve this year.
All right, let's go to Bloomberg here, talking about sectors to target and avoid right now. If the market...
perpetual BDCs that offer these liquidity valves. That's where it gets a little trickier because a lot of these funds offer, let's say, 5% quarterly redemption features. So 5% doesn't sound like a lot. But it's quarterly, that's 20% a year. Maybe that doesn't sound like a lot, but if you continually get redemptions, then you start to run into liquidity problems for managers. So I think it's a question of just matching assets and liabilities. We saw that problem. Sorry, just to continue on it.
Please.
We saw that problem with, without naming names, but with BREIT, for example. That's matching a real estate, actual real estate properties against a liquid fund. And they ran into, Blackstone ran into liquidity problems that they had to deal with. In credit, it's a lot easier because these assets turn over. They're not nearly as illiquid as real estate or private equity or something like that.
Real quickly, 30 seconds. Are you seeing fresh equity come into the commercial real estate business to try to find value?
Yes, but very slowly. Office, no, not yet. Maybe little tiny green shoots here or there. In multifamily, we think multifamily is probably the best place to enter. People have had a knock on multifamily because back in 2021, post-COVID, when it was free, people built lots of stuff. And all those buildings have caused, rent growth to shrink, even negative rent growth in some of these Sunbelt markets. But nobody's building anymore. Yeah. So I think people are skating to where the puck is going, not looking at where it is now.
All right, Richard, thank you so much for joining us. Richard Byrne, president of Benefit Street Partners, formerly of Deutsche Bank, doing a tour of duty there. There's a lot of good bankers and analysts used to go up against Deutsche Bank, some good folks there. Looking at the markets here, S&P 500 off 29 points. The Dow's up 40. The NASDAQ, get this, off 200 points. That's 1.1%. A little bit of room there. 10-year Treasury yields 4.35%. That's up about 3 basis points. We'll have more coming up. This is Bloomberg. Good morning.
All right. What I want to do is I want to transition to the Fox business about Trump's energy secretary.
Turn your pastime into your full-time. Your personal style.
Earlier this week, the Department of Energy announcing changes to its program to deploy small modular reactors aimed at boosting energy grid capacity. Joining me now on a Fox Business exclusive is the U.S. Energy Secretary, Christopher Wright. Mr. Secretary, great to have you this morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Maria.
Well, we got a lot to talk about, from nuclear to natural gas and the energy policy. You've got breaking news for us, though, right?
We did. We released, sort of a request for bids and proposals from developers in the United States for small modular reactors. The nuclear renaissance has been long talked about, but it just hasn't happened yet. We want to make it happen. President Trump was elected to make things happen. So one of the things we did from a previous draft was strip out the DEI language. Nuclear energy is about powering your homes and your businesses and the hospitals. It's not about politics or skin color or sex. It's about energy. So we're just bringing common sense back and want to get nuclear power going.
So you believe stripping out these DEI regulations will open up the floodgates, or at least encourage more nuclear business from the private sector?
Look, there's tons of great American companies that are spending private capital to develop next generation nuclear technologies that are small, manufacturable, factories assembled quick on location. They're safe.
I didn't keep on. Today is not a good day
For
today.
Ukraine and of course Iran and its moves in terms of Israel and Hamas has prices up with natural gas up about 27% year to date. Your thoughts on natural gas and whether or not you're seeing a demand supply situation change here?
Yeah, I mean, demand has grown a lot for natural gas. And look, prices were very low last year, so investment levels dipped down. If you look at natural gas today in oil terms, it's at like $22, $23 a barrel. That's pretty cheap energy right now.
Fastest growing energy source on the planet. And the U.S., as you know, when Russia invaded Ukraine and a lot of their supply was cut off to Europe, U.S. LNG filled that hole more than any other source. And we could have filled it even more if not for the Biden quote-unquote pause on LNG export approvals.
Yeah, and I want to ask you about Venezuela and the tariffs, but Ms. Secretary, you're further postponing the implementation of 3 Biden-era mandates on home appliances said to lower costs for American consumers. These delays include test procedures for central air conditioners and heat pumps, efficiency standards for walk-in coolers and freezers, efficiency standards for gas water heaters. Tell us more about this.
Yeah, these are just more nanny state, crazy top-down mandates that makes it more expensive for American consumers and businesses to buy what they want. This is the kind of stuff that got the American people animated and got President Trump elected. But think of the hot water heaters thing. What's very popular today is these tankless natural gas-powered water heaters. And why are they popular? Because they're really inexpensive. And they just heat water as you need it. Using the lowest cost heating source we have, which is natural gas, so they're very popular. The Biden administration was rolling out an efficiency mandate specifically designed to make these illegal. A factory that was just built in the Southeast United States was going to ramp up production of this very popular product. It was going to be out of business because their products were going to be made illegal. Just completely nuts. But yes, and we can't officially get rid of them. So we just pushed back the enforcement date, hopefully to never.
Well, I mean, look, there are so many things to look at in terms of the poor policy, the bad policy of the Biden administration. The Biden administration would rather have, bought oil from adversaries and relied on adversaries than producing it here. Oil prices this morning are higher, and Venezuela crude oil loading at its main ports have slowed this week as President Trump is vowing a 25% tariff on any country purchasing oil and gas from the country beginning April 2nd. The Treasury also extending Chevron's wind-down license to produce oil in Venezuela until May 27th. What can you tell us about Venezuela, Mr. Secretary?
Well, what's key there is with the policies now and a belief that we can invest in America, across America, including Alaska, which was sanctioned far more than Iran or Venezuela by the Biden administration. Now that we're free to produce American energy across our country, it gives us great geopolitical leverage. If we don't like the behavior of Venezuela and our foreign policy decides, hey, we should change Venezuela's ability to export oil, we have the ability to do that without impacting prices to American consumers. So key for me is American energy makes American lives better, also makes us more secure and more strategically powerful abroad. And this Venezuela policy is just one example of that.
So what's the timing on unleashing all of this energy capacity in America? Secretary, I know this takes time. These are long-term projects. But President Trump wants to, as he always says, drill, baby, drill. And he also wants to have an opportunity to be able to export natural gas, LNG to Europe and other places. I want to get your take on that because you've got low storage builds in the EU, no comprehensive ceasefire, and yet we're seeing a stability on prices. The president wants to unleash all this capacity. When will it happen? And when would you expect that the U.S. could actually export some of this LNG to Europe, for example?
Well, U.S. natural gas production is at an all-time high today, so gas production is already growing. I was down a few weeks ago at a brand new liquefied natural gas export terminal in Louisiana coming online. We've approved 4 more within the first 100 days of the Trump administration that'll be under construction soon. So boy, our capacity to export is growing rapidly. We have pipeline exports to Mexico. Our crude exports are at all-time highs and will continue to grow. So I think we're in a good position, but I think 6 months from now, 12 months from now, even a better position. And we have a lot of states in our country that don't have the advantage of low-cost American energy, and that's because they made political choices for expensive energy. I don't think the citizens of those states realize that if you're paying very high prices, it's because the politicians in your state or surrounding states chose expensive energy policies.
Yeah.
So we're going to do everything we can to get low-cost energy to them as well.
Well, I mean, certainly, as you say, this is an important policy and it takes time. But I guess the next question has to be about Congress. And I've asked you this before, Secretary, some of these executive orders that the president has put in place could go away if another administration comes in and redoes it all, redoes these executive orders and reverses them. So what do you want to see Congress do in terms of codifying some of this into law?
So permitting reform's huge. We've made it just so hard to build things in the United States. That hurts not just energy, but anything big you want to build takes years and years before you can put a shovel in the ground. So I was on the Hill yesterday, meeting with a number of members in the House of Representatives, talking about reforms to make it easier to build things. I had a bipartisan group of senators in my office yesterday afternoon talking about nuclear energy. Why don't we have more nuclear power? Why isn't the nuclear renaissance happening? What can we do to get it going? So there is a lot of things that we want to do on the legislative side as well as on the executive side and the regulatory side. It's I think a wholesale swing back to common sense, and plenty of Democrats are being swept up in this move towards common sense as well, which is very heartening to me.
Well, you would think so. It makes sense. Secretary.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the structural nano silver toothpaste. This is a very high quality toothpaste. Actually, it's the best that you can buy. It has no fluoride. It's made from structural nano silver. It's going to whiten your teeth, freshen your breath, help with your gum line health, and with good oral hygiene, you're improving your cardiovascular health and your valvular health. So please go to my store, get this very high quality toothpaste, get a few tubes for your household, help support my work, and help support your health. Now let me talk to you about a stack that's good for your bones and for your cardiovascular system. D3 and K2 taken together with resistance training and taking calcium supplementation or just drinking milk will help with bone health and improving your bone density. But it's important that you do the resistance training, take the calcium, and then take the D3 and K2. They work together to absorb that calcium. But also D3 and K2 help to pull out and reduce the calcium depositing around plaque. A lot of people don't know that once your LDL oxidizes and is eaten up by macrophages and turns into a foam cell, that is and it hardens, that becomes plaque. But you also can have calcium depositing around that plaque or in that plaque, depending on how big it is. To reduce building up plaque and also to help slowly pull the plaque out, or help to pull that calcium out of that area and reduce that calcium depositing, taking D3 and K2 together is important. Now, to also boost up that cardiovascular part of the stack, taking nattokinase together. Nattokinase is fibrinolytic. It's going to break up clots, and nattokinase helps to bring down LDL levels and increase your HDL levels. That means that you're reducing the chances of LDL oxidized, therefore you're reducing the chances of building up plaque. So taking nattokinase is important. It works better when you take it with the D3 and the K2. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, take this stack, D3, K2, and nattokinase to help with your vascular health and your bone density. But again, to help with that bone density, you need to take calcium supplements and you need to do resistance training. So please go to my store, get the nattokinase, the K2, and the D3, take them together, use discount 5, and you get $5 off. All right, let's go to Bloomberg about the leak here. Military plans.
What's the feeling, Mark, within Europe, within the UK, about really how they need to proceed going forward. Is this something that they now are convinced that at least for the next 4 years, if not longer, that they are to some extent on their own?
Yes, I mean, there are sort of different interpretations in different parts of Europe as to, you know, sort of how quickly to sort of just abandon ship and hope in the transatlantic relationship. The UK will be one of the last to do so. It's always had a stronger relationship. It just, you know, a few years ago left the European Union thinking that, you know, that its special relationship with the US would help it to kind of, you know, thrive after that. So it has just a bit more at stake. But it's going to, you know, all of them have understood that the most important element of that relationship in terms of security, and that is, you know, clearly under threat. And they have understood that they will need to not rely on the US for an umbrella of security anymore, which means a lot more defense spending, a lot more thoughtful defense spending, and a lot more cooperation within Europe. And, you know, having said that, you know, understanding it is very different from doing it.
Yes, that could not put it better myself on that, Mark. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Mark Champion joining us from Bloomberg Opinion. And in the latest, if we just stay sort of in the geopolitical world, President Donald Trump stating that the U.S. needs Greenland for international safety and security, and that it's essential for defense and offensive postures. He is currently speaking in an interview with conservative talk show host. He also says that whether Greenlanders want to become Americans is secondary to him, that the U.S. needs to convince them to join.
Okay.
So
Greenland,
there we go.
That's still a thing.
It is still a thing. Vice President J.D. Vance is visiting Greenland. Well, there he's going to be. It was traditionally billed as a family outing, but now that's been scaled down amid some local backlash on that. Now the visit's going to focus on national security issues at an isolated U.S. military base. All right, taking a look on the market right now. Tech getting hit quite hard. One of the top read stories here, Paul, on the terminal is that Microsoft's abandoning some data center projects. Now, you can look at it this way. It's more they're going to rent the space for all the LLM training, maybe, but this is not the inferencing. They still make a lot of money so far.
And I mean, TD Cowen's out with this research note. So again, I think for some folks, it calls into question, where are we on the whole AI build-out plan? It was such a big driver of the story, just the stock market in general for 23 and 24.
Yeah, and also one of these for the power guys who've been really rallying on this as well. Theo would like that to me. If we'll see any sort of changes on that order book at the same time. All right, coming up, Allison McNeely is private equity reporter. A great big take story about 401ks are a $12 trillion pot for private equity. We'll break that down for you. This is Bloomberg.
I want to go over to Al Jazeera. They're talking about South Korea here. Not sure what's going on. Oh, wildfires.
Fires spread across South Korea's southeast, destroying hundreds of homes and forcing thousands to evacuate. Among them is Ro Won-woo and his wife, who have lived in Andong City for more than 5 decades. They finished building their new house less than 6 months ago, but now their home, their possessions, and their farm have been destroyed.
Okay, Fox News interviewed Bill Barr, so let's see what he had to say.
With the help of Xero's small business accounting software, I've got the right information at my fingertips.
So business is a breeze. And I've got a bigger plan. Search Xero with an X.
There is electromagnetic energy in that pyramid between 200 and 600 meter wavelengths. So as you know, there are numerous judges, numerous courtrooms where the White House is vowing to push back as President Trump faces mounting legal challenges. These cases stretching out before several different courts across the country. So we thought today, to help us wade through all the legal aspects for this, we welcome back the former Attorney General, Bill Barr. Sir, good morning to you and welcome to our program today. Thanks for coming on.
Hi, Bill. Hi, Dana.
So in the last century now, you've had 27 injunctions over 100 years. You've had 15 now in 2 months. What is the resolution when you have 650 some odd district judges who weigh in on national issues as they affect the executive branch? What would be your position from a very high level as to how this should be handled?
Yeah, I think there are two things going on, and the president is absolutely right to be frustrated and concerned about the way the courts are handling this. First, there's a pattern whereby these district court judges are trying to usurp the responsibility of the president in the national security area. The Constitution gives the president the power to make the judgments about how we deal with foreign nationals when we are animated by national security concerns. It's his call, not a district court judge's call. The second phenomenon that's occurring is even where it's appropriate for the court to play its traditional role of safeguarding the liberties of American citizens, we have this phenomenon of nationwide injunctions where the lowest level judge, district judges, try to bind the entire nation and bind the president in their initial decision. And that is not what we have meant by the judicial power under our Constitution. And it leads to a lot of instability in government and a lot of instability within the court system. It's something the court has to deal with. The Chief Justice has to deal with the problem of nationwide injunctions.
Speaking of the Supreme Court, Justice Elena Kagan back in 2022, she said this can't be right. Watch here.
Can't be right that one district judge can stop a nationwide policy in its tracks and leave it stop for the years that it takes to go through a normal process.
From your read and understanding of the current makeup of the Supreme Court, if one of these cases does get up there and they are able to take on this issue, do you think it will come down in favor of the executive branch being able to execute what it wants to do?
Yes, if they finally stand up and decide a case instead of, hanging back from these decisions, I think it'll come out the right way. I think most of the justices appreciate how absurd this is. Look, when a district court judge decides a case, even the judge down the hall in the same building is not bound by that result. They can find differently in a similar case or a same kind of case. The only time it becomes binding on someone other than the parties, the precise parties, is when it's appealed to the circuit court, and then it becomes the rule in a certain number of states, and it doesn't become the national rule until it's adopted by the Supreme Court, and that all takes time. It's a preposterous situation that we have now.
Okay, well, let me get into two cases in a moment here, but I'm going to ask you another 35,000-foot question, and then we'll get to Venezuela, and we'll get to this student, former student at Columbia University. Right. Through all of this, it appears like Judge Boasberg's arguing that essentially due process was not given to those who were deported, let's say, or who are now in detention. What does the law say about those who are not American citizens when it comes to appealing their process or being given due process in their case?
Right. The fundamental problem here is that judges are like carpenters. Everything looks like a nail to them, and they, apply the same kind of rules they do in our criminal justice system when American citizens are involved, and trial-like hearings and adversarial hearings and all kinds of rules of evidence and trying to prove something beyond a reasonable doubt or some high standard of proof. That applies in our criminal justice system where the courts are playing their traditional role of protecting the rights of American citizens. That is not the rule, and it shouldn't be the regime when we're dealing with external threats and the president is trying to make judgment calls as the best way to protect the country. And what's happening here is they're trying to reduce all decisions to these trial-like hearings, which essentially gives the judge the power to overrule and second-guess the executive. Now, there are two decisions here. First decision, is this a predatory incursion by a foreign nation or government? And I think the president's right, and I think it is eminently defensible position that this is. When I was Attorney General, we indicted the Maduro government in Venezuela because they were directly involved in drug trafficking to the United States, and we determined that they were doing it to hurt the United States. It was a hostile act to weaken our country. So I think the assessment of the current situation does support handling these TVA members under the Alien Enemies Act.
Okay, so let's come back to that, okay? Take this Columbia University student or former student. He's got a green card. He's married to an American woman. Apparently she's 8 months pregnant. What rights or argument does he have to fight deportation?
Again, the key question there, he is entitled to some kind of hearing and process under the statutory law. But the key issue there is not something that the judges can second guess. He is being removed because the Secretary of State made a determination that his continued presence and activities in the United States pose a serious consequence for American foreign policy, adverse consequence. That's a determination that the Secretary of State makes. Due process only requires that that decision be made by the Secretary of State, and it's a defensible position. It doesn't allow for judges to come in and have a trial as to whether they think it's serious consequences. And it's the same thing, by the way, with these Venezuelans. They've had process. They had a process in the executive branch where there was a review of their situation, investigation, and their determination made that they were members of TDA. Now, if one of them has evidence that they're not, the proper approach is to go for a writ of habeas corpus and put forward your evidence and have a response to that by the court, some specific showing. But to say that, as this judge has said, is that if the act requires individualized trial-like hearings for every single one, then it just makes a mockery of the statute. The reason the statute is there is to provide, as the Supreme Court has said, a summary way of quickly removing a large number of people.
Right, and the problem is that the Democratic Party is using the judicial branch to slow walk Trump's policies and almost nullify it so they can have illegal immigration. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the collagen and peptides. This amino acid profile is shown on the screen. You can read the label on my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Link is in the description of this video. Collagen is a multi-purpose supplement. It'll help with your skin, your hair, your nails. It'll help with your joints, your bones, your muscles, especially if you're doing resistance training. All right? So take the collagen every day. You get a big scooper, take 1 scoop a day, every day. You can mix it with soft foods, like what I do, or you can mix it with milk or with filtered water or a smoothie. There's different ways to take it, but you should be taking it every day. And if you take vitamin C and cross-link it with the drinking filtered water, by taking vitamin C, collagen, and drinking filtered water, it'll cross-link and help with the dermal layer. So collagen will help with the middle layer of your skin. And I have a anti-aging skincare box, beginners and advanced, where you get the collagen, the vitamin C, and the structural nanosilver gel. And that will help with the topical layer, the dermal layer. And then the advanced version does everything that the beginner's version does, but the advanced version also has C60 and resveratrol that helps with the dermal, that helps with the basal layer. So C60 and resveratrol helps with the basal layer where your new skin cells are generated. The collagen and the vitamin C help with the dermal layer, and the structural nanosilver gel helps with the topical layer. So that's a great way for skincare. But like I said, taking collagen and doing resistance training is going to help with your joints, your muscles, and your bones. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the collagen. According to Amber, she takes the collagen with coffee too. So I haven't tried that, but that might work. Another great stack to do is to help with your brain health and your cardiovascular health and your immune system. Let me show you this great stack that is very affordable. Clarity Factor will get rid of brain fog. It'll allow you to concentrate, all right, and focus, especially at work or in school, or even if you are retired, to be able to focus. And it's important that you approach this with proper diet, proper exercise, get good blood flow to your brain. But clarity factor will get those neurons firing, and having neurons firing and being able to concentrate will be able to help support memory creation, right? And those dendritic connections will improve. So you're going to have positive neuroplasticity. So you're going to think faster, you're going to be able to remember better, and your cognitive function will be improved. So get the clarity factor, take it every day, all right? Some people take it twice a day, like how I do it. I take it in the morning and take it in the mid-afternoon. But some people only take it once a day, maybe in the mid-afternoon. But the key is to take it every day, all right? Improve your neural function. Now, taking olive leaf extract will bring down inflammation. That's good for your cardiovascular health, but also for your immune system. And olive leaf extract helps to bring down LDL levels and increase your HDL levels. So you're reducing the chances of building up plaque because you need LDL that's oxidized to create plaque. But if you reduce inflammation and you reduce your reactive oxygen species, you reduce those free radicals, and you're reducing your LDL, it doesn't oxidize. And when you don't oxidize LDL, you can't build up plaque. So it's really important to take olive leaf extract every day, take it with clarity factor, and this is a great stack to help with your brain, your immune system, and your cardiovascular system. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, use discount 5 and you'll get $5 off. Take a look at some of the other products that I have, like the collagen, like I said, So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. All right, let's continue with Bill Barr here.
Jamila, she's an Obama appointee. She was part of this 3-judge panel. This is what she said about these Venezuelan gang members. What?
I want to buy your house. I can pay you cash for your house no matter what condition it's in. If you need to sell your house for any reason, click the button under this video to see if my offer is right.
Numbers what?
There were plane loads of people. There were no procedures in place to notify people. Nazis got better treatment under the Alien Enemy Act than has happened here.
Is that going a little too far?
Well, yeah, I think it definitely goes too far, and I'm not sure what she's speaking about. Nazis captured by the United States did not get into the courtroom. I can tell you that. Even ones who were born in the United States and went to Germany to fight for Germany. So again, they're trying to have a trial as to whether or not they're a member is wrong. They have an opportunity to raise that. They were interviewed. Determinations were made. If they have evidence, they can come forward with it under habeas corpus. But think about it. How could you ever prove this? It would take, beyond a reasonable doubt for any of these people. We're trying to show that they're members of a gang, a Venezuelan gang. It's ultimately a judgment call that has to take into account the need for speed, the risk to the American people. These people are not American citizens. They don't have the same due process rights in this situation as Americans have in law enforcement.
One more just to follow up on that. In the hearing yesterday at the appellate level, one of the judges, Justin Walker, said, can you name a case where this has survived on appeal? And I don't know, maybe you can off the top of your head. I'm not a lawyer, and I can't find one when I was looking. But this Alien Enemies Act, it appears, based on law, even though it's been barely used in the history of the country, that it is the most efficient way for deportation. And one must think that the Trump administration had a plan here, especially for the 250 some odd who went to El Salvador, that this is what they were going to do and they were going to move with efficiency. Now, a court stepped in and tried to stop that. I don't know what the timeline was specifically, but the judge is asking for that information. Would that change your mind if there was something in there that suggested, well, that was illegal?
Well, I mean, if there's something that showed it was illegal, but it's hard for me to say. Well, it may show that they were, moving very quickly and wanted to.
Breaking news: Trump is announcing something about tariffs, auto tariffs, as soon as Wednesday. today is Wednesday, so which Wednesday are they talking about? Today or next week?
Avoid judicial review, but that doesn't affect the question of whether or not it was legal or not.
Okay, maybe the better question is, was it done by the book? Maybe that's a better way to phrase it.
Well, I think they were trying to do it by the book. You remember the judge first ordered that none of the individual defendants be moved. And that's really what he has jurisdiction over. If he has jurisdiction, I question whether he actually has jurisdiction under the APA, which he says. But then a verbal order at the last minute saying, I don't want those planes leaving. My understanding is these are not Justice Department planes. These are military or other agency planes. So it may have taken time to figure out what was going on.
Got it. Really appreciate your time. We hope you come back.
I'm Steve Ducey. I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the structural nano silver gel either in the tube form or in the quick dispenser form. Have some at home and at work. Really important. It's dual purpose. All right? What can you use this for? If you get a cut, an abrasion, or minor burn, apply the structural nano silver gel on it, and it will heal the lesion quicker. You can apply it every day on your skin as a skincare. A great way to do it is to put it on your skin at night and then exfoliate in the morning. Like I said, this is also part of the skincare health box that I have, either the beginners or the advanced. Also, structural nano silver can be used as an aftershave. Guys, after you shave your face, put it on your face to soothe and heal your skin. Women, if you're shaving your legs, apply it on your legs after you shave and it'll reduce that razor burn. Also, structural nano silver gel is really important. If you're not feeling well, or someone around you at work is not feeling well, or at home, put it on your hands, around your mouth, around your nose, around your ears, lightly coat your nostrils. You'll stay active for 5.5 hours. If you have copious drainage, you can put gel, lightly coat your nostrils, and it'll help to soothe that soreness, but also reduce the flow of the drainage. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the structural nano silver gel. It is a dual purpose product. Use discount 5 on any order and you get $5 off. All right, let's go to balance of power.
And we did hear conflicting versions of who might have been responsible for what, who invited Jeffrey Goldberg to this Signal chat. Michael Waltz spoke alongside the president, as you saw and heard in a cabinet meeting yesterday, and then was dispatched to try to clean this thing up on Fox News. It didn't get a lot cleaner, as we found in the conversation with Laura Ingraham. Listen.
I take responsibility. I built the group.
Okay.
So but look, that's the part that we have to figure out. And that's the part that embarrassing, yes, we made a mistake. We're moving forward, and we're going to continue to knock it out of the park for this president. Look at what he's gotten done in under 2 months.
But you never talked to him before, she said. So how was the number on your phone? Waltz said, well, if you have somebody else's contact, somehow it gets sucked in. It gets sucked in, unquote. We're learning a lot, I guess, about Signal here. I sent a Signal text over to Tony Capaccio at the Pentagon to see if he could come on today. Magically, he's back with me in studio. We had barely recovered from our conversation yesterday. It's great to see you. And I'm not joking around. This is some pretty serious stuff you brought to us. Now we've got the actual, should I call them attack plans? We're splitting hairs on the semantics here, right?
We're definitely splitting hairs, whether you have gray hair, brown hair, or no hair.
Okay, got it.
So, war plans, this is the equivalent, let's say we're planning the Bin Laden raid. The concept of operation, the Bin Laden, the war plan would be, we're using SEAL Team 6, 2 helicopters, and an overhead drone to monitor. The concept of operations, President, is XYZ. The tactical issues are what we're talking about here. In Air Force Navy lingo, it's called the Air Tasking Order.
Okay.
The minuet, how you organize the minuet of Tomahawks,
an aircraft, so they're deconflicted in the air. So this is the execution part. Splitting hairs, you could say in colloquial, it's a war plan, sure, but it's really the attack plan or the air tasking order that they laid out. And I had a top former CENTCOM official tell me a little while ago that these are at the secret level.
They are.
And Jeffrey Goldberg made the point, this is 30 minutes before the attack commenced.
That's right.
So if the Houthis had some intelligence, high-level eavesdropping capability to pick up on signal, they could have been
These
alerted.
airmen could have been in big trouble.
But they don't. So
yeah, they don't. Okay. Well, so here we are. We're talking about Michael Waltz, but it was in fact Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense who you cover every day, who texted at 11:44 a.m. Eastern Time, posted in the chat in all caps, "Team update." Text begins, "Time now, 11:44. Weather is favorable. Just confirmed the CENTCOM. We are a go for mission launch." It continues, 12:15. F-18s launch. First strike package. It continues at 13:45. Trigger-based F-18 first strike window starts. Target terrorist is at his known location, so should be on time. Also strike drones launch. MQ-9s. What are we talking about here?
we're talking about MQ-9s picking up real-time imagery, beaming it back to the Truman Battle Group, and maybe CENTCOM and some command and control nodes there, and actually, queuing the aircraft in. The Tomahawks they fired were called they're tactical Tomahawks. They can actually, they're the loitest models, they can loiter and be retargeted. So this is a real impressive minuet and the importance of the drone.
Yeah.
So one of the sources and methods that they disclosed in this, when Walt says the first target, their top missile guy, we had positive ID of him walking into his girlfriend's building, and now that's collapsed. Well, that's the sources and methods. That's the MQ-9 actually seeing and beaming back.
Wow.
And commanding and linkages that are actually the taxpayer should be happy actually worked. If not, maybe disclosed.
Yeah, but the thing is that we've known that they have this capability. This is not news. This is not like something brand new. I mean, this thing goes all the way back years in terms of having this capability. I mean, just look at like some of the Tom Clancy novels. When he was writing the books, that was technology that wasn't futuristic. That was technology that we were using currently, at the time of his writing of his book. So I mean, this is no big deal. Sources and methods. They know that they have satellite imagery and targeting.
It's hard to deny.
I mean, come on.
That we had sensitive information here. You heard from a former CENTCOM official say that
this is
classified.
This was at the secret level. It would have been downgraded as the attack after the attack proceeded, but this was before. So, and it's hard to say. It's hard to argue that this was not classified information, and it was a plan of attack versus a strategic war plan.
Yep. I want to go back to the Senate Intelligence Committee, Senator Heinrich here, from the Intel hearing, much like what we saw today on the House side. Martin Heinrich, a Democrat from New Mexico, talking to John Ratcliffe, the CIA director, Tulsi Gabbard, DNI. Let's listen from yesterday.
Did this conversation at some point include information on weapons packages, targets, or timing?
Not that I'm aware of.
Director Gabbard, same question.
Same answer, and defer to the Department of Defense on that question.
Well, but those are two different answers, but you're saying that was not part of the conversation.
My knowledge.
The precise operational issues were not part of this conversation.
Correct.
Okay.
We isolated that, Tony, because again, the question, did this conversation at some point include information on weapons packages, targets, or timing? Clearly it did.
It surely did. And I listened to her today in the House when she was hit by one of the House Democrats. And that was the I don't recall argument.
Which Kash Patel actually said numerous times. You ever use Signal for, I don't recall. Yeah. Works better.
I don't recall. Right? That's a good Watergate hearings, I think, from 52 years ago.
So we're back to Pete Hegseth today. By the way, if you're with us on YouTube, I don't know, I think they found us. They got our backdrop. They must be listening in. What happens to the Secretary of Defense in a damage control moment like this, having said on the tarmac
he's fine
over the weekend that this didn't even happen.
Yeah, he's in Asia, and I think he's gonna come out unscathed on this. But his press secretary sent out this note a little while ago. It's no surprise hoax peddlers at the Atlantic have already abandoned their war plans claim these additional signal chat messages confirmed there was no classified materials or war plans shared.
Okay.
So I don't want to read the whole thing, but that's the response, which is not totally accurate.
We're out of time. We've got 30 seconds left. Does the White House press office take it from here, or is the Pentagon press office at full speed as well?
No, the Pentagon press office is not at full speed. This is an attack dog, a coordinated attack dog approach from the White House press office in terms of responding.
Fascinating, as always. It's great to have you back. You can just come every day if you want. We're going to be talking about this for a while.
You would burn me
You
out.
have a real job, right? I would burn you out. We'll see about that. Tony Capaccio, the best in the business at the Pentagon, reporting for Bloomberg. I'm Joe Matthew in Washington, where the sun is out. Don't be fooled on YouTube, where you can join us right now. Bloomberg Business News Live is how you find us, as well Bloomberg Radio, and on the satellite, Sirius XM channel 121. We'll have much more straight ahead as we turn our attention to Wall Street and tariff news today. This is Bloomberg.
While we're waiting for Balance of Power to come back online, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the Myotrol. Myotrol will help with gene expression to maintain and build new muscle. It has flavonoids, polyphenols, and lignans to help reduce inflammation and help with that gene expression, and help with the health of your mitochondria, because you need lots of ATP to build and maintain muscle. You need to take Myotrol, especially if you're 40 years of age or older, to be able to build that muscle and to maintain it. Because when you get older, you start to atrophy. You need to do some resistance training, some cardio, some balancing, and some stretching. All right, and do that on a daily basis. And take the Myotrol, and you're going to notice that your musculature will improve. If you're an athlete, either younger or older, you should take Myotrol to help with your strength gains in your sport. It couples very well with gladiator barley. Gladiator barley is a high-density protein. It's an heirloom barley. It'll bring down inflammation, so you're going to recover quicker. It's going to help with your immune system because it's bringing down inflammation. It'll help to detoxify your body. Also, it'll soak up free radicals through superoxide dismutase. You're going to recover quicker when you take gladiator barley in your sport, and it'll help you to build muscle. The high density protein in here is going to be the building blocks to build the muscle, and the Myotrol will be the gene expression that you need to help to build the muscle. So these couple really well together. So stack these together if you're an athlete, younger or older, or if you're just not an athlete and you're older and you want to maintain and improve your musculature. Really important. To slow down that aging process, you need to build muscle mass. And when you're building up muscle mass, you're also improving your bone structure. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the gladiator barley and get the Myotrol. This is a great stack. Now you can take them separately, but they work really well together. There's a big scooper in here. This is a month's supply. Take a half or a full scoop each day. Mix it with soft foods. That's how I do it. Or you can mix it with a smoothie or with milk or filtered water. It's up to you, but I mix it in soft foods. Take it every day, do your workout, and you're going to see huge improvements. Please go to my store, get the Gladiator Barley and the Myotrol. Use discount 5, and you get $5 off any order.
Lower by 45, down 0.1%, while NASDAQ is down 301 for the NASDAQ Composite Index. That is a drop right now of just about 1.6%. Your 10-year 4.33%, with the 2-year currently yielding 3.99%. Spot gold down $2 the ounce, 30.17, drop there of 0.1%. West Texas Intermediate crude up 1.2%, 69.84 a barrel. And Bitcoin now down 1.3%, 86,770 on Bitcoin. More on the markets coming up in just a moment with our Barry Reynolds. Microsoft, meanwhile, walking away from new data center projects in the U.S. and Europe that had been set to consume 2 gigawatts of electricity. This according to TD Cowen analysts, who attribute the pullback to an oversupply of the clusters of computers that power artificial intelligence. Microsoft shares down 0.7. Apple, meanwhile, elsewhere in the tech world.
So you're already seeing there was an overbuild out of AI infrastructure.
A broader tech south. For on-demand news 24 hours a day, subscribe to Bloomberg News Now wherever you get your podcasts. And Balance of Power continues right now. Back we go to Washington. Once again, your host. Here he is, Joe Matthew.
All right, Charlie, thank you so much. Charlie Pellet, live from World Headquarters in New York. I'm here in the void in Washington if you're with us on YouTube. If you're not, search Bloomberg Business News Live. Also, of course, always on the radio. Bloomberg Radio and Satellite Radio Channel 121. This is feeling kind of familiar. You listen to Charlie. He tells you that stocks are lower. You look at the terminal. You see the headline. NASDAQ down 1.5% as tariff angst roils stocks. Then you look at the next headline. Trump prepares auto tariff announcement as soon as Wednesday. Well, here we are again. This is a familiar place. And as we watch the markets try to get legs back after the brutal reversal that we saw taking us all the way back before the election, we haven't even reached Liberation Day yet. The lovely Kaylee Lyons reminded me this morning when I got to work that we're a week out from Liberation Day. Yeah, April 2nd, right? Reciprocal tariffs. But what about the auto tariffs? Now we understand those could be coming as soon as today or not. President actually talked about the tariff situation specific to reciprocal, as he calls it, in an interview on Newsmax. This idea that there could be lots of exceptions. He said so yesterday at the White House. Maybe not so much. Here's the president.
Not too many. Not too many exceptions. No, I don't want to have too many exceptions. We're just going to be reciprocal. In fact, I'll probably be more lenient than reciprocal, because if I was reciprocal, that would be very tough for people.
As we cover the intersection of Washington and Wall Street, it's a great pleasure to bring in Barry Reynolds, the sage, founder of Reynolds Wealth Management, and of course, host of Bloomberg Radio's Masters in Business. He's got a new book out as well. We're getting him on the book tour. How not to invest, the ideas, numbers, behaviors that destroy wealth, and how to avoid them, which I think we could all use right about now. Barry, it's great to see you. Welcome back to Balance of Power. I'm not sure I know where to start with you, other than to ask if we're really building a bottom here. Is Wall Street getting numb to this, or this is just the go forward? Donald Trump is the market.
Yeah, well, go back to 2016. If you remember, in Trump 1.0 or 45, however you want to call that election, he was tweeting back when X was called Twitter at specific companies, at specific CEOs. Remember Tim Apple, and General Motors. And, the first couple of weeks when that happened, the first few months, every time he would pick a company and tweet at them, the stock would wobble. There'd be all sorts of, people running around with their hair on fire, analysts downgrade. And then it took a couple of months before people realized, oh, this is just the new operating procedure. This is the environment we're in. And the ability to move markets kind of lost its power. Eventually, if you just have noise blaring in the background, eventually it just becomes background noise. Yeah. And so maybe this is a little bit of wishful thinking on my part, but it very much feels like that's what's going on now. Hey, we're barely 2 months into this administration, and we began with Wall Street celebrating, hey, new administration, we're going to get tax cuts, we're going to get deregulation, business-friendly environment, look for more M&A and more buybacks. And that narrative dominated for a few months, from election to pretty much till January 20th. And then the crazy thing is, none of this is a surprise. This is what Donald Trump, candidate, told us he would do as Donald Trump president.
That's right.
Hey, I'm going to put in some tariffs, brace yourself. And so now he's doing what he said he's doing, and people seem to be kind of shocked. Maybe it's the sort of chaotic nature, and it just feels like everything is random and spitballing. The signal snafu and the sort of, I don't think we could call that group the best and the brightest. I think that's making people a little nervous, and you're starting to see CEOs say, let's just slow our roll with some CapEx till we have a little clarity, because this chaos, I hate the word uncertainty, this chaos is not encouraging us to spend tens of millions of dollars on new projects.
So is it just a matter of getting past Liberation Day, the announcement of reciprocal tariffs next week? Or is this a market that's basing right now, and all of a sudden chaos or uncertainty lifts after that date, or it's going to take a while for us to get to know this new version of Donald Trump?
I don't know. I'm a little hesitant to say that the market is basing here, although I will tell you, I started on a trading desk 30 years ago. 10% pullbacks from all-time highs happen. Go back to 1950. We've had about 53 examples of it. So over that 75 years, what is that, like once every 18 months or so? Not that it's clockwork, but 2 out of every 3 years, you're going to get a 10% pullback. I cannot recall more angst and wailing and pulling of the hair out of the head for 10% off the highs. Are you kidding me? Do you not remember down 57% in the financial crisis? Like, you have to learn to accept volatility as the cost of admission for long-term gains.
So maybe this was due anyway, but if you look at an S&P chart, it's broken still, right? We're below the 50, we're below the 200. At what point do you start buying into weakness here, so you look like the smart guy when all of this short-term pain supposedly pays off in the second half?
So the data tells us never just pick a point. You want to, if you are buying on weakness, if you have cash you're lying around, first the data says put it all in at once. 2 out of 3 days on a rolling basis, you're better off doing that than scaling in. However, the psychology of how humans behave around risk, around volatility, around market pullbacks, down 10%, pretty ordinary. If you have a little extra cash, okay, you could roll it into equities. I don't really get excited till down 20, 25%. And down 30%, I'm flipping over couch cushions and looking for loose change, anything I could do down 30%, because that's really...
Let me talk about the differences between heirloom barley and gladiator barley. Heirloom barley will help to detoxify your body, bring down inflammation, and soak up free radicals with superoxide dismutase. You get a big scooper. This is a month's supply. You mix it with soft foods or with filtered water, a smoothie, however you want to take it. I typically take it with soft foods. And this is a great way to get high-density protein to detoxify your body and bring down that inflammation. Bringing down inflammation is important for your cardiovascular health and your immune system. Now, gladiator barley, you get all the benefits in gladiator barley as you do with the heirloom barley, but you also get strength benefits. So if you want to detoxify your body, bring down inflammation, soak up free radicals with superoxide dismutase, and build muscle, take gladiator barley. With heirloom barley, it's for individuals that are not so focused on building up strength. So you can take either one separately, or you can take it with Boomer Boost. Now, Boomer Boost is the last pillar of my core protocol. All right, the first pillar is max 35 or max 14 to boost up your immune system, C60 to soak up free radicals, turmeric, ashwagandha, and lignans to bring down inflammation and boost up your immune system. And the fourth pillar is the Boomer Boost to boost up your energy levels and your metabolism. With Boomer Boost, you get 68 nutrients. So go on my store and take a look at the label. It's very comprehensive. And this will target your cardiovascular system. This will target your brain function, your musculature and strength, boost up energy levels, and boost up your metabolism. Within 72 hours, when you start taking Boomer Boost, you're going to start noticing a difference in your health. You're going to start noticing that you have a steady burn of energy throughout the day. It doesn't spike. You're going to sleep better. You're going to have more mental acuity. And what will happen is that you're going to have this an additional amount of energy, and therefore you're going to just have more vitality, and you're going to want to work out. You're going to feel like you want to do things, right? If you take a look at, let's say, a puppy or a young child, they're running around, right? Now, you ever wonder why that is? Well, what it is that they're in a growth phase, but they have lots of ATP. That means they have lots of mitochondria pumping out ATP, healthy mitochondria pumping out ATP. Well, if you improve the health of your mitochondria as an adult, you're going to have more ATP and therefore more energy for your cells to operate, your muscles to operate, your tissues to operate, your brain function will improve. And so a big part of aging is a decline in your mitochondrial health. Well, if you improve the mitochondrial health and you're boosting up your energy levels, you're actually slowing down the effects of aging. Another part of aging is atrophy, either neurological atrophy or even musculature. So your energy levels go down when you get older, your muscle tone goes down when you get older, your thinking, your speed of thinking and memory consolidation starts to go down with age, and your immune system goes down with age, and you speed up the process of aging. You also build up more damage to your DNA when you're older, and you build up free radicals faster. But if you take things that soak up the free radicals and boost up your energy levels and help with your mitochondrial health, you're actually slowing down the aging process. So taking Boomer Boost is going to give you that energy levels, and this compound of 68 nutrients targets these different systems that I mentioned. Another thing that I have noticed, since I was about, 8 years old, I had chronic migraine headaches, all right? All my life, almost all my life, all right? And when I started taking Boomer Boost, I noticed that my migraine headaches are greatly diminished. And usually when a migraine was starting to happen, it would last for about 2 or 3 days, all right? And I would have to take Excedrin. So, and I've been doing that since I was, a kid, since 8 years old, all right? But I don't know what compounds are in here that actually are preventing me from having my migraine, but for me, it helped. But, I was shocked. I was pleasantly surprised when that was something I did not expect. Now, I'm trying to isolate what exactly is in here that actually helps with people that have migraines. I don't know. But, again, this targets multiple systems. Within 72 hours, you are going to feel a substantial difference in your body. So take it every day. You get a big scooper, take it with soft foods or with filtered water, or some people put it in milk or a shake, and take it every day. Now, it's best to take it with Gladiator barley or the heirloom barley. All right? Why? Because you're getting all those nutrients you need. You're targeting your heart health and your vascular health. You're targeting your brain health. You're targeting your musculature. And you're boosting up your energy levels, helping with your mitochondria, and improving your metabolism, right? And you're going to be losing weight. You're going to notice that you're going to be losing weight. Now, taking the heirloom barley will give you the high density protein that you need. It'll detoxify your body. It's going to bring down inflammation, so it's going to be helpful for your vascular system and your immune system. and it's going to soak up those free radicals with the superoxide dismutase. So it's very powerful. So you take a scooper of this and a scooper of heirloom barley, or half a scoop of heirloom barley, mix it together, however you want to take it, and do that every day. You should take it as your breakfast or your lunch. That way you are saving money, but not just that, you'll have all the energy that you need by stacking it this way. And you'll lose weight. You'll notice that you're losing weight. Another way to stack this is the Boomer Boost with Gladiator barley. And do some resistance training, and you're going to gain muscle. You're going to lose weight. You're going to gain muscle. You're going to detoxify your body. You're going to bring down inflammation. You're going to soak up free radicals. You're going to boost up that metabolism. So this is a great stack. And when you stack this, you're also helping with your A1C levels. That means that you're controlling your blood glucose levels, really important. So take the Boomer Boost and the Gladiator barley, or the Boomer Boost and the heirloom barley together for best results. You can take them separately. You can take the Gladiator separately, or the Boomer Boost separately, or the heirloom barley separately. That's up to you. But like I said, if you stack it with Boomer Boost and the barley together, that's the max benefit. Now, if you are an athlete, take this for your pre or your post-workout fueling, and stack it also with Myotrol to get the max benefits to improve your sport. So not only is this for people that are just older and not athletic, or an athlete of any sort, but it also helps athletes as a pre or post fueling source. I wish this was available when I was doing triathlons, when I was in my 20s and early 30s, but it wasn't, or I didn't know about it. So, but the thing is please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the Gladiator barley, get the heirloom barley, and get the Boomer Boost. I also have a longevity box called Longevity Boost Box. You get Boomer Boost and your choice of Gladiator barley or heirloom barley at a discount if you buy the longevity box, and you can use discount 5 on top of it to get an additional $5 off. If you buy an anti-aging box or a longevity box, the box is designed to be at a discount, all right, compared to purchasing the products individually. Please go to my store and get the Boomer Boost. All right. Let's see. Let's drop into live now. They're talking on the Hill about the leak. Looks like.
Well, they say they don't have to use the phones. They can go to the regional offices now. Well, they're closing the regional offices all over the country. 47 slated for closure by my count. Okay, so now you go to the regional offices. Well, who's going to be at the regional offices? Because they're talking about cutting 7,000 Social Security employees, 47% of the workforce. As I said, it's already at a 50-year low, the Social Security Administration workforce. So that's what they're doing. So why do you do this? You do it to undermine people's confidence and faith in Social Security. So
No. What it is that we got a bloated government that needs to be truncated because we don't have the money to afford the bloated government that we do have. All right, let's do a business flash here with Bloomberg.
For my 1.6% tech being hit hard today. 10-year 4.34%, with a 2-year 4.00%. Gold little change, down 0.1%, 3,017 the ounce, and Bitcoin right now down 1.2%, 86,829 on Bitcoin. Recapping, S&P down 0.8%. Balance of power continues now. Back to go to Washington. Once again, Joe Matthew and the other lines.
All right, Charlie Pellet, thank you, sir. Live from New York, I'm Joe Matthew in Washington, where it's all about the signal chat again. Thanks for being with us on Bloomberg Radio, on the satellite radio, channel 121, and on YouTube, where you can dial us up right now. Search Bloomberg Business News Live. We'll have our panel with us in just a moment here with fresh reaction now coming out of Washington, exclusively here on Bloomberg, from Senator Elizabeth Warren to the Atlantic release of the full text chain about the Houthi attacks. This transcript is now public, made public after White House officials, Pentagon officials, made clear that it was not classified. And the journalist who was involved in the Signal chat here, Jeffrey Goldberg, went for it today, publishing some pretty remarkable stuff that was put forth by Pete Hegseth. Time now, 11:44 ET, as I read from the chat. Weather is favorable, just confirmed with CENTCOM. We are a go for mission launch. It goes on from there to describe the F-18s, trigger-based first strike window starting straight through the elimination of targets. Senator Elizabeth Warren, of course, on the Intelligence Committee, speaking to Bloomberg's David Gura about what should happen to the Defense Secretary. Let's listen.
If Pete Hegseth had a shred of self-respect and decency, he would resign. That's what leadership is about. And instead, Pete Hegseth thinks it's all about point at somebody else and minimize the problem and sweep it under the rug and deflect. You know, you want to be a leader of the finest armed forces in the world, then step up and take some responsibility.
Should he be fired? You talk about him resigning.
If he won't quit, then he should be fired. Because he has put our national security at risk. That's part one. Part two is you realize a bunch of this is potentially, certainly, breaking the law. So, for example, because of the Freedom of Information Act, there are laws that require that people in the administration, all of them, have to preserve the records of their texting back and forth. I know this from the days when I served in the administration, and we were careful.
But it was on a government device using a government-approved encryption app. Of course, it would be preserved for the record. She's making an allegation. There's no evidence that they were trying to hide. They were using government devices. See, this is the point I'm making. This is that they're muddying the water. They're not telling you what the full story is. Meanwhile, Tulsi was in Congress today saying it was on a government device in a government-approved encryption app called Signal. So what did they do wrong, Pocahontas?
I want to run the tape on how many Republicans talked about the importance of accountability and getting to the bottom of this. Where are they right now? I'm ready for those hearings.
Everything. Trump's bad at everything, right?
This was a chat that was organized by Mike Waltz, the Mrs. National Security Advisor, and he addressed this in an interview on Fox News. Here's what he said. We made a mistake. We're moving forward. I noted that by and large, the response from the administration has been there wasn't classified information here. And as a result of that, the Atlantic released screenshots of a lot of these conversations. We learned that there was information on planes, timing of this attack. You talk about the need for hearings. Are you optimistic that that's going to happen and that you're going to get to the bottom of what was in fact discussed on that chat?
So I think this is a question fundamentally about where is power in this country. I get elections, we pick a president picks a team, and that's where power resides in terms of the execution day-to-day of various policies. But ultimately, it's people across this country.
Senator Elizabeth Warren, the Democrat from Massachusetts, speaking again with David Gura. We'll have much more of that conversation in our second hour. They just sat down a short time ago here in Washington. Of course, member of the Armed Services Committee, to be clear here, calling for a hearing to investigate what happened and, in fact, calling for the resignation of the Secretary of Defense. Let's assemble our political panel, our signature panel with us today with Rick Davis here in Washington, of course, partner at Stone Court Capital and Bloomberg Politics contributor, our Republican strategist, Jeannie Shanzano in New York, Democratic analyst and political science professor at Iona University. It's great to have you both here. We got into this yesterday. Now we've had a chance to sleep on this, Rick, and we now have, as David was discussing with Elizabeth Warren, the actual texts put in the Atlantic, the jets, the timing, the targets. Does this change your view on this? Does it advance the story?
Look, I mean, I think everybody understood that kind of information, as described in the article, was in there. Now that we actually have it, you're left to your own judgment as to whether that's classified information. You know, is it classified by its content, or had it been classified?
by one of the security agencies, whether in the Pentagon or outside. And the only reason that debate is still alive is because there are legalities associated with having this information floating around on an unsecure platform like Snapchat. Mm-hmm. And so, and then on top of that, of course, the various sort of non-denial denials that took place that extended it.
Yeah. Is it on Snapchat or is it on Signal? My understanding is it's on Signal. Where's the Snapchat stuff talking about? I mean, am I missing something, or is he just saying something that is erroneous?
All the members on the Signal chat are saying different things. I mean, it's a pretty good mess. And of course, people like Democratic senators and Democratic House members are going to have a field day with that.
Sure, they sure are. And I don't know, Jeannie, what exactly Elizabeth Warren's going to be able to pull off here. I mean,
she can't do anything because it's government. It's government.
Roger Wicker
it's a government approved app.
About this,
and government
reporting suggests, not a fan of Pete Hegseth, for instance, because you don't really think the secretary is going to step down or resign, do you?
No.
It doesn't seem likely at this point. By the way, Joe, I really like hearing you read those texts. It sounds like, I don't know, like a documentary or like some kind of movie. So keep reading those.
That's the problem, Jeannie.
I know. Roger Wicker has said that he and Jack Reed are going to be sending a letter asking for an inspector general. Who knows where this goes? And Senator Warren is echoing what we heard in this absolutely riveting hearing in the House today, which is member after member after member on the Democratic side calling for Pete Hegseth to resign. And I think, in my mind, the most effective was Jason Crow from Colorado, who literally held up two anti-aircraft systems and said, can the Houthis, do they have the use or the ability using these systems to shoot down American planes? And the answer is yes. And so had this information that came out before the attack got into the Houthis, we could have lost American pilots. We could have lost American men and women on this mission. And that is what is most important and most damaging here.
Rick, The Atlantic writes, if this text had been received by someone hostile to American interests or someone merely indiscreet and with access to social media, the Houthis would have had time to prepare for what was meant to be a surprise attack on their strongholds. The consequences for American pilots could have been catastrophic. Is that alarmist or is that honest?
Yeah, look, I think that is
there's no way that they infiltrated the Pentagon's app. Come on.
I think it's just what Jeannie said was being asked about in the House today. Did they have the means to be able to do harm to our pilots? Yes. And another thing, that we were after a specific target. It was mentioned in the Signal chat. I mean, if that person knows that they got planes in the air coming for him and he's got an hour's notice, he's going to go hide in the butter somewhere. Yeah, time to move. So, look, the element of surprise is the number one way to have an effective ops like this, right? If they don't know you're coming, it's too late to do anything about it when they show up on the radar, because that instant, the bombs are dropping. And so I think it's incumbent upon everybody. I mean, like, we want to have people in high office who feel responsible for the lives of the service members that are put in harm's way. That should be the number one.
I'll tell you, in a generic way, he's right. But the thing is he's not getting into the details, because the devil's always in the details. Always in the details. The app was approved. End-to-end encryption. It can be used. It was on government devices. So there was nothing wrong with them using it. The problem comes in is how did a reporter get on the chain, the group chain, the group chat group? How did that happen? Now, they didn't do anything. Pete Hegseth didn't do anything illegally. And not only that, it's an approved devices in an approved end-to-end encryption app. Now, if it was to get leaked to the Houthis, it would have been out of that 19, I think there were 19 people in that group chat. one of those 19 would have had to leaked it to the Houthis. And there was only one person that wasn't a government official. And that was the Atlantic reporter. So if it was to be leaked, it would have had to been one of those 19 members. I think it was 19. Maybe there was 29, but I thought I saw the word. I thought I saw the number 19. The chances of it being leaked from the actual principals that were working for the government is like really small probability, right? Like super small. So it would have to be the Atlantic that leaked it. So let's just use some common sense here. Is the app approved by the government to use on government devices? Yes. Did they use it on government devices? Yes. How do we know that? Tulsi Gabbard said that in Congress today. So what is on there is not that big of a deal. And not only that, it's completely legal. What's the weird part about this is how did the Atlantic reporter get into the chat? Now, according to Waltz, it looked like the name for the reporter, for the number, it was different. Now, is that true or not? I don't know. Now, maybe there is we need a stronger firewall between an address group that's in for private use versus an address group for official business on the government device. What surprises me, on a government device, you would have a private address group. Now, what Waltz is saying is that he never communicated with this Atlantic reporter, so he doesn't know how he was on there. Now, he's suggesting that maybe there was another chat that they were in that this reporter may have been a part of, and that it was accidentally brought in as a group. I don't know. All right. So it's really not so much, are they using the app wrong? No, it's an approved app. Are they using the devices wrong? No, they used government devices. There looks to be there's some sort of mistake or potentially some nefarious activity to get that reporter on that group. Now, let's assume that it was just by a mistake. All right. But what's the probability of that mistake going to a reporter like the Atlantic that absolutely positively this reporter hates Trump? What's that probability? So it's almost as if maybe someone within that group wanted to harm Pete Hegseth. It's possible. It's possible. And that Waltz didn't know anything about it. So there may be a mole within that 19 members or 29 member group to kind of try to harm Hegseth. It's possible. It could be just a pure accident and it just happened to go to this reporter from the Atlantic. But how would the Houthis get this information? It's end-to-end encryption. So either one of the members would have had to send that information to the Houthis. There was no Houthis on that group chat. All right. Or the Atlantic reporter would have sent it. And now, obviously, I don't think that the Atlantic reporter would have sent that information, even though he hates Trump, to the Houthis. I doubt that. All right. So this is the problem with these talking heads on Bloomberg. They don't look at the details. You know, he doesn't even have he couldn't even say if it was Signal or if it's Snapchat or blah, blah, blah. Now, should this have happened where a reporter is brought in to the group chat? No, I don't understand why the reporter is even on the address book. I don't know. I've never used Signal, so I don't know. But the thing is that it looks like it was done on accident. Hopefully it was done on accident. If it wasn't done on accident, either the reporter was trying to get in and used an alias, or, and that probably is a federal offense, or it's possible that there's a mole within in the principal group that was trying to harm Pete Hegseth. But who knows? Most likely it was just by accident. You know, it's a lesson learned and you just move forward, I guess. All right. Looks like they're going to be doing a White House briefing, so that's probably a lot of this is going to be teased out. So let's do a commercial break here. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Use discount 5 and you get $5 off any order. Remember, if you buy an anti-aging box or a longevity box, it's built with a discount compared to purchasing the items individually. So it behooves you to actually buy an anti-aging box or a longevity box. But if you don't want to do that and you just want to buy individual products and stack yourself, you know, in a certain combo, that's a great way to get healthy too. Ubiquinol is a strong antioxidant. It's going to soak up free radicals. Ubiquinol is the most bioavailable form of CoQ10 that you can purchase. Ubiquinol will help to boost up your energy levels because it's going to improve the mitochondrial health. And ubiquinol helps to protect your neurons. That's really important when you get to age 40. All right? You need to protect your neurons. My dad passed away recently from dementia. All right? You want to protect your neurons the best way that you can. All right? And one supplement that's very important to protect your neurons is ubiquinol. Take it every day. Now, NAD plus supplement is going to help to boost up your NAD plus levels. NAD plus helps with your energy levels. It also helps with repairing DNA, cellular DNA, and mitochondrial DNA. So NAD plus will help to repair DNA damage. And NAD plus will help to protect neurons. So a great stack for neural protection is taking the NAD plus and the ubiquinol. Another great neural stack would be NAD plus ubiquinol and clarity factor, or NAD plus ubiquinol and C60. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the NAD plus and the ubiquinol. Get the stack, protect your neurons, heal your DNA damage, including your mitochondrial DNA, soak up free radicals, boost up those energy levels, protect those neurons. Really important. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Okay.
Senator Elizabeth Warren, in an interview with Bloomberg, now calling for the SecDef to resign. Kaylee, and you know what no one's talking about today is the X date.
Well, yeah, the Congressional Budget Office perhaps being drowned out by the drama around the Signal chat. But yes, they say there is a risk that the United States could default on its debt as early as August, potentially even earlier. It's going to depend on what the receipts actually look like at the end of this tax season. And that obviously fits into the debt ceiling debate that is ongoing on Capitol Hill as Republicans are pushing to include that in budget reconciliation. The problem is, while Republicans may want to focus their time talking to reporters about that, they're faced with questions today about this Signal chat. And it's not just Elizabeth Warren who's calling for Hegseth's resignation. You have the likes of Senator Mark Kelly as well. So far, though, no Republicans are saying the same.
That's correct. So we're going to have more of David Burr's exclusive sit-down with Senator Elizabeth Warren a little bit later on this hour. On this day, we get the X date from the Congressional Budget Office. We'll talk to Douglas Holtz-Eakin, who used to run the CBO. And if I dare add another iron to the fire here, Kaylee, Donald Trump says he could announce auto tariffs as soon as today.
Yeah, according to Bloomberg's reporting, we'll have the latest on that as well. Keeping in mind, he did say earlier this week it could be coming in the coming days.
That's right.
So we'll be on watch for that. We are expecting a White House press briefing to take place at some point this afternoon. We're supposed to be scheduled for the top of this hour, but the White House has not yet resumed that as we're waiting for the Vice President, J.D. Vance, to speak with Quantico as well. So a lot to follow today, obviously, on this Wednesday, just like there's a lot to follow in financial markets. Luckily, Charlie Pellet has that job, and he will check on those for us now from New York. Hey, Charlie.
Hi, thank you very much, Kayla Lyons. Indeed, me and the team, we got you covered here with the Dow, the S&P, NASDAQ, all very much in the red. Certainly tariff angst roiling markets today. The Dow, the S&P, NASDAQ all declining. All of the stocks lower as well. Right now, the S&P down 58, drop there of 1%. We've got the Dow Jones Industrial Average down 99, decline of 0.2%. On NASDAQ is lower by 337 now, down 1.9%. Tech stocks getting hit hard today. The Russell 2000 index of small cap shares lower by 1%. 10-year at 4.33%, with the 2-year that's currently yielding 4.00%. Gold, little change, down 0.1%, 3,015 the ounce. Gold down $4. West Texas Intermediate crude up 1.1%, 69.78 a barrel. And Bitcoin now down 1.5%, 86,541 on Bitcoin. Rivian Automotive is spinning out of business. It will develop small electric vehicles designed for short trips. The new micro-mobility company, known as Also, is launching with $105 million in funding from Rivian and venture capital firm Eclipse. Rivian shares, they're down today with other automakers. Rivian down now by 1.2%. Rival Tesla down 5.7%. GM lower now by 1%. Ford down 0.8%. Stellantis down by 1.4%. Stay with Bloomberg for the latest on tariffs. Again, recapping here, S&P down by 1%. Balance of Power continues right now. Back we go to Washington. Once again, your hosts, here they are, Joe Matthew and Haley Lyons.
All right, Charlie Pellet in New York, thank you so much. Myself and Joe Matthew in Washington, where the entire city remains captivated for now a third day by the Signal Gate story, as it's being called, which has some new developments today after The Atlantic decided, after not publishing on Monday the specific details shared by the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth in regard to planning strikes in Yemen, to do so today after repeated statements from the Trump administration and officials who were involved in this signal chat that no classified information had been shared and no war plans were discussed. Enter the receipts, including screenshots of the signal chat in which, for one example, Pete Hegseth says 13:45. Trigger-based F-18 first strike window starts, target terrorists at his known location, should be on time. Also strike drones launched, MQ-9s. Those are Reaper drones. Joe, and this of course is after the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, the CIA Director, John Ratcliffe, had suggested in testimony yesterday that no targets were named, no times were given.
You know, the thing is that, even that report, saying that they shared this information, the attack plan on Signal. Signal is a approved communication. That's the point. The big issue is, how did the reporter get on the chat? Now, is it by just accident, or was there some sort of nefarious thing going on, either by the reporter or someone within, the official group that was working at the government? I'm sure, it would be surprising that there's a mole. It's hard to believe this is all by accident, but the thing is, it could be. But, why isn't it the Atlantic one and not, maybe a CNN reporter or a Fox News reporter? It's odd, but I'm sure that the Houthis didn't have any access to
asked, did this conversation include information on weapons packages, targets, or timing? They both said no. Do we now believe that the answer is yes?
The receipts certainly show that. And they were asked yesterday, did this include any classified information? They denied there was any classified information in this exchange that was happening. And that's when you saw the Atlantic, which initially said, no, we're not going to publish. The back and forth here said, okay, we're going to go out and put this forward and let the people decide for themselves, where this information, put the sensitivities around this information. Gabbard today is back on the Hill testifying in front of the House. Really inconvenient timing for her. But she is now pointing to, oh, well, look, Hegseth was there. He was sharing this information. He has the ability to classify and declassify information. So therefore, nothing wrong was done. That's her argument. It's the same argument that people may remember from a couple years ago when classified information was seized.
But it's also that the Signal app is approved for end-to-end encryption on government devices. Don't forget that.
President Trump, to this point, is standing by his team. No suggestion that he's looking for anyone to lose their job over this. He maintains that Mike Waltz, while he made a mistake, is a good man, reiterating that again this morning. And it does seem that maybe the administration is trying to shift the news cycle, if you will, with other announcements. As Bloomberg is reporting, it could be as early as today, Laura, that the president announces long-awaited auto tariffs, which he's been teasing for weeks, if not months. Yes, this would be, sort of ahead of that April 2nd day. That's sort of the big reciprocal tariff day. Auto tariffs is one he's been targeting specifically. The White House has not come out and confirmed whether this is happening, but this is one of the key ones. Trump, for a long time, has talked about wanting to make other countries' car companies, German car companies, wanting them to come to the U.S. So this is what he's targeting here. But this really has the auto industry worried because, especially across North America, these supply chains are very interconnected. Parts and cars cross the border between Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. multiple times. Car dealers are warning that this could cause the prices of cars to go up by tens of thousands of dollars in some cases. So this really has markets down sharply after this story popped on the wire earlier today.
Well, I guess, if there is news, we'll bring it to you here on Bloomberg. Hard to tell if that's actually going to happen today when it comes to tariffs. We do have an X date, though. Well, we have an X date window from the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, telling us it's going to be August, maybe September, when we hit the debt ceiling here. Of course, we are already under extraordinary measures here at the Treasury Department. We're talking about extraordinary measures probably exhausted in August or September of 2025. That's better than May, which some had feared. Does it help to add some urgency to this conversation?
It does. And I'll note that CBO said that if tax receipts don't come in as expected, whether that's because the economy takes a downturn and as a result of all this tariff business, or if the IRS has had a bunch of workers laid off, people are the IRS is warning that people could try to cheat on their taxes more. If tax receipts are down, CBO says we could be in May facing a potential breach of the debt ceiling. So that's a lot of pressure on lawmakers who are talking about putting this in that bigger tax bill. So the House has sort of moved on this. The Senate is now negotiating. John Thune came out last night and said, yes, we think that we're forming some consensus around putting the debt ceiling in the tax bill. But they still have to negotiate everything that's in and out of that bill, and that's going to be a really tough negotiation. It's possible they get there by August, but if this is May, that's a totally different conversation. Yeah, we know Washington loves a deadline, but that deadline might be coming up pretty quick to the point where it makes some people uncomfortable. Laura Davison, Bloomberg Politics editor, thank you so much for joining us. And to Laura's point, with the uncertainty around receipts, it points to the idea that this is also an inexact science. It's very hard to nail down an X date, which just speaks to the risk around it and the notion that you could accidentally stumble into default if you don't act quickly enough.
It's the cable guy window, of course, August to September, a little bit hard to pin down and hard to pick the day off that you're going to take here. But yeah, with regard to what's happening at the IRS, Laura put her finger on, it's not just a question of receipts, it's a question of the agency's ability to process all of this information in the throes of Doge cuts.
Well, that's absolutely right. You need to have people to push the paperwork,
and
that paperwork may get pushed a little bit slower if
you
don't have as many people doing it. So we want to get into all of this now with Douglas Holtz-Eakin, who used to direct the Congressional Budget Office that we've been speaking about. He's now president of the American Action Forum, here with us on Bloomberg TV and radio. Douglas, always good to have you on Balance of Power. As the CBO says, August to September is the window they would guess for now, but there's a risk it is months earlier than that. What would you put the odds around the X date actually being sooner than late summer?
I think we're going to know pretty quickly. There are persistent rumors that receipts are coming in lower than expected. CBO included that cautionary note in the report. They didn't just say, look, it's going to be August or September. These dates, the key ones being, the April tax payments and then early June a tax payment. The cash flows that come from that can carry you for a while, but if those cash flows aren't big enough, the date jumps forward by months. And this is not something that we want to, treat cavalierly. The default by the United States would be a cataclysm for the international financial system. No one thinks that's a good idea, but they don't have a plan to raise the deadline. I think the thing that's significant here is they're still talking about doing this in reconciliation. They haven't yet agreed on a joint budget resolution and passed that in the House and Senate.
Why should we keep on raising the debt if we can't afford what we have? Maybe we need to force Congress to actually cut certain programs so we can actually not have to raise the debt ceiling. That's part of the problem that we have. This is that we just keep on kicking the can down the road and we just keep on raising the debt ceiling. No.
First I heard August, September. I thought, hey, well, we got time. We can go to Vegas. There's all kinds of money to spend here. But you just walked us through the news. As usual, they can't get this done in reconciliation, which could take the rest of the year. So how should Congress handle it?
I think they should right now be having a discussion with the Democrats in the House and the Senate to talk about passing in regular order a debt limit bill. They may want to combine it with, emergency supplementals for fires in California. If there's some business Congress needs to do that business, do it in a timely fashion, take off the table any risk to the economy, especially given the other things going on that comes with tiptoeing up to a debt default.
Well, okay, so if ultimately we're talking about tiptoeing here, when they're talking about an accelerated timeline that they want to get this done, who are you going to be watching? Is this ultimately a Senate issue, Douglas? Is this the House issue? Because they're talking about coming more into alignment here, and yet we know even just within the individual conferences in each of those chambers, Republicans can sometimes have difficulty with one another.
So they really can't lose any votes in either the House or the Senate. The Senate, they can lose a couple, but
it looks like the White House is doing the briefing now, but I don't have a feed yet. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the peppermint structural nano silver soap, the lavender structural nano silver soap, or the lemongrass and the charcoal tea tree. Get a few bars for your household. Help support my work. Get these very high quality soaps. They're made from structural nano silver. It's a win-win. You get great soaps and you help support the work I do. Let's go to the White House now.
The highest military honor. Beautiful picture. The president also signed a historic executive order to protect the integrity of American elections by strengthening voter citizenship verification and banning foreign nationals from interfering in U.S. elections. These are the common sense solutions that only Democrats could oppose. But voters deserve elections they can trust, and critical confidence is being restored thanks to President Trump's leadership. Later this afternoon in the East Room, President Trump will mark Women's History Month by honoring the exceptional women around our country, including the highly talented women in his administration and his cabinet. And on an additional scheduling update, the president will hold a press conference in the Oval Office today at 4:00 p.m. to announce tariffs on the auto industry. And I will leave that to him to make that announcement later. Unfortunately, all of this good is happening for our country. This administration is working hard on behalf of the American public every day, but the mainstream media continues to be focused on a sensationalized story from the failing Atlantic magazine that is falling apart by the hour. Here are the facts. The National Security Advisor has taken responsibility for this matter, and the National Security Council immediately said, alongside the White House counsel's office, that they are looking into how a reporter's number was inadvertently added to this messaging thread. We have said all along that no classified material was sent on this messaging thread. There were no locations, no sources or methods revealed, and there were certainly no war plans discussed. The Atlantic has even admitted this themselves. Their release of these internal messages validates the truth, which we have been saying all along. If this story proves anything, it proves that Democrats and their propagandists in the mainstream media know how to fabricate, orchestrate, and disseminate a misinformation campaign quite well. And there's arguably no one in the media who loves manufacturing and pushing hoaxes more than Jeffrey Goldberg. Goldberg is an anti-Trump hater. He is a registered Democrat. Goldberg's wife is also a registered Democrat and a big Democrat donor who used to work under who? Hillary Clinton. This is the same Jeffrey Goldberg who infamously lied about weapons of mass destruction to get us into the Iraq War, which cost trillions of dollars and thousands of American soldiers. And how else has Goldberg discredited himself? By absurdly claiming that President Trump was Vladimir Putin during the 2016 campaign, by peddling the Russia hoax that tried to hijack President Trump's first term, by inventing the suckers and losers hoax to help Joe Biden in the 2020 election, by peddling a hoax about President Trump involving Gold Star families to help Kamala Harris in the 2024 election, which our campaign at the time vigorously denied. Jeffrey Goldberg didn't care. There's more, but we don't have all day, and we can now add the signal hoax to this very long list. The real story here is the overwhelming success of President Trump's decisive military action against Houthi terrorists. On March 15th, President Trump ordered a series of military operations against the terrorist Houthis to defend U.S. shipping assets in the Red Sea, restore freedom of navigation for international shipping, and defend the United States from enemy threats. United States forces successfully struck down dozens of targets across Houthi-controlled territory. And as a result of these actions, several Houthi leaders were killed, including the Houthi drone chief, his deputy, and several of their drone experts and other key leaders. We also destroyed command and control facilities, weapons manufacturing facilities, and advanced weapons storage locations. And it's important to remember why this powerful action took place in the first place. Because of Joe Biden's incompetence and pathetic weakness on the world stage for years, the Houthi terrorists grew emboldened. Immediately after taking office in 2021, Joe Biden removed the Iran-backed Houthis from the foreign terrorist organization and specifically designated global terrorist list. Did anybody in this room ask the Biden administration at the time why they made such a stupid mistake? This reckless action undid the designation put in place by President Trump during his first term, and what followed was predictable and devastating. The Houthis targeted U.S. military ships and aircraft, hit commercial ships, including U.S.-flagged vessels, threatened our personnel overseas, and attacked our allies in the region. This resulted in more than a year of U.S.-flagged commercial ships being prevented from safely sailing through the Suez Canal, the Red Sea, and the Gulf of Aden. This had a massive negative impact on global trade of the economic security of the United States. Joe Biden was the commander-in-chief, and he sat on his hands while the United States of America was bullied and embarrassed by terrorists. President Trump and his team are putting a stop to these threats and restoring American strength around the world. The Trump peace through strength approach means no terrorist force will stop American commercial and naval vessels from freely sailing the waterways of the world. But unfortunately, this is not what the Democrats and the media want to talk about. They are focused on a coordinated campaign to try and sow chaos in this White House. And this has been the most successful first 2 months of any administration ever, which is exactly why they are doing this. We are not going to bend in the face of this insincere outrage. And here's just one example of how bad faith the Democrats' criticisms are. Democrat Senator Mark Warner is hysterical over the use of Signal, which is an approved decrypted app, and the killing of Houthi terrorists. But Senator Warner himself used Signal to work with a lobbyist for a Russian oligarch to connect the disgraced Steele dossier author who started the Russia hoax.
Really?
Jeffrey Goldberg later reported on. How ironic. We're not going to lose focus of the bottom line, which is that Joe Biden's weakness enabled and emboldened Houthi terrorists, and President Trump's strength and resolve eliminated those terrorists. Here in our new media seat today, we have Lindsay Keith. She is the managing editor for Merit TV and serves as their White House correspondent. Merit TV launched 1 year ago and creates and distributes content across diverse platforms. We're glad to have you with us.
Before we go to that question, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the Max 14 or the Max 35. Take a teaspoon a day, switch it in your mouth, gargle 20 seconds or so, and then swallow to help boost up your innate immune system. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the Max 14 or Max 35. I take it every day. If you're not feeling well, take a tablespoon or two a day. And then once you feel better, go back to your maintenance dose.
I will discuss it. The people need to hear from me about the situation. And so his thoughts on this remain the same today. He has placed great trust in his national security team. And as for the usage of Signal, as the president said yesterday, as the CIA director has testified under oath, this is an approved app. It's an encrypted app. The Department of Defense, the Department of State, the CIA has it loaded onto government phones because it is the most secure and efficient way to communicate. As for, again, the original situation in this messaging thread, the National Security Council, the White House counsel's office continues to look in to how this mistake, which the National Security Advisor has owned, occurred. And the president has ensured they are doing that.
On the economy, consumer confidence hit a 4-year low this month. Can you help explain to the American people how tariffs will help them in the long run?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm grateful for the question. The American public will hear later this afternoon from the president directly on the topic of tariffs. And as you all know, April 2nd day, President Trump has proudly dubbed it Liberation Day for our country. What he means by that is it will be a day where the United States of America will no longer be ripped off by nations around this world. It will be a day where Americans finally see free and fair trade practices restored. We are no longer going to allow our allies, our competitors, and our adversaries to take advantage of American workers. And if you think about your hometown and the state that you grew up, Main Street looks a lot different today than it did many years ago, and President Trump wants to restore America as a manufacturing superpower around the globe. He wants products to be made right here in our great country with great, hardworking American hands that will ultimately result in higher wages and more money in the pockets of the American people. And he's also, in addition to tariffs, also determined to pass tax cuts later this year, as he did successfully in his first term, to put even more money back into the pockets of hardworking Americans. Peter.
I'd like to ask you very quickly about the information we've seen, just to set the panic top. Has the president been briefed and physically seen you've seen all the details of the chat as printed by the
I just spoke to the president about it, yes.
And let me ask you, if I can, very quickly. In the chat, Pete Hegseth, the defense secretary, details F-18s, Tomahawks, some of the weapons that were used. He details the timing involved for this, all of which occurred 31 minutes before, as he says, F-18s would launch. The DoD manual details classified information as significant military plans, saying that is secret, but that's classified. So what about, there are no methods, there are no sources, but that's not what determines what's classified. So what is it about what Pete Hegseth wrote that makes you say this is not classified?
Well, it's not just me saying that, Peter. It's the Secretary of Defense himself who is saying this as well. And he put out a very strong statement earlier today listing all of the things that were not included in that message that he sent to the group. And again,
so basically how this works is that if there's going to be a strike on an enemy, and the Department of Defense says, you know what? I don't want to classify this. I'm just going to telegraph it to the world. He can do that. It's in his privy. See, here's the problem is that the deep state doesn't like you not doing the way they want things done. He has authority to declassify.
And they should be trusted with that.
To be clear, Americans can make the decision for themselves, but whether it is you said it's not war plans. Would you characterize these as military plans, military operation plans?
I would characterize this messaging thread as a policy discussion, a sensitive policy discussion, surely, amongst high-level cabinet officials and senior staff. And I'm so glad, Peter, that you said the American public can decide for themselves, because I think the American public can decide for themselves based on the outcome of this operation. And what happened in this operation? Terrorists that were allowed to run wild by the Biden administration were killed because of the direction and the determination of this president and his team. And this message also shows, this messaging thread also proved that President Trump has an incredibly dynamic team who is working incredibly hard, flying all over.
None of that. The text didn't say specifically what exactly the strike package was. Like how many bombs are going to be used or missiles and what the GPS coordinates are and all this. They didn't do that. It was more generic. It did have some granularity in terms of certain planes. They didn't say how many planes. They didn't say where their location was or anything like that in specific terms. And what is interesting is to see the juxtaposition between Live Now, which is covering what's going on with Signal, at the White House, but Bloomberg is more focused on the auto tariffs. All right. So this whole thing is going to change in the news radically once Trump mentions auto tariffs.
various reasons he listed things that were not included in that messaging thread that were not classified. And again, going back to the American public, do you trust the Secretary of Defense, who was nominated for this role, voted by the United States Senate into this role, who has served in combat, honorably served our nation in uniform? Or do you trust Jeffrey Goldberg, who is a registered Democrat and an anti-Trump sensationalist reporter? This president and this national security team are putting our national security and the American people first. We are restoring American strength around the world, and the results of this operation speak for themselves.
Putting aside Jeffrey Goldberg, though, just for for American service members who are going to have to carry out these missions in the future, what I guess the message that's coming from the response to all this that we're hearing is that nothing sensitive happened, and I guess the logical conclusion of that is that if these messages had gone out publicly prior to the launch, that wouldn't have been a risk to service members. I don't know that they're comfortable with that. So can you explain, had these messages been published, would the plans have moved forward? Would the launch have still taken off?
What I can tell you is that the president, as the commander-in-chief of our United States Armed Forces, and Secretary Pete Hegseth, who is an incredible man and a warfighter himself, take the lives of our American service members with the utmost responsibility, and they would never do anything.
The bottom line is this. It was under a end-to-end encryption. Only people in the chat could see it. All right? So there was no way that the people would see, the regular people out there, the public would have seen that. It's just that it so happened to be a reporter on the distribution list. Now, how did that reporter get there? Who knows? Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the multivitamin that I offer. This is a great multivitamin as cofactors for proper enzymatic activity. It's easy to digest. It's a great foundation for your health protocol. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. You can see on the list here what's in the multivitamin. You can go on my store and read the label more carefully, but this is a great base to build off of for your health protocol. Also, get the vitamin C with magnesium to boost up your immune system. It also helps with your skin. If you're not feeling well, take a double dose. Make sure you drink it with water because it's water soluble. And magnesium and zinc also helps to boost up your immune system. If you're not feeling well, take a double dose. Take one dose in the morning, take one dose in the evening. If you're feeling better, just go back to one dose a day. You can stack these together to help with your immune system. Really important. And better yet, this is a great stack. Multivitamin, vitamin C, and magnesium and zinc all together as a stack to have the proper enzymatic activity, to have the multivitamins that you need as a foundation and to boost up your immune system. Use discount 5 and you get $5 off. It's discount, all caps, number 5, and you get $5 off.
The defense systems, command and control nodes, headquarters, weapons manufacturing and storage facilities, and these operations will continue until the freedom of navigation in our seas is restored and U.S. shipping can safely transmit without the fear of attack.
See the key?
And again, we
see the key here. The key here is what's in a strike package. It's a lot more detailed, like how many planes, what each plane is carrying, what they're going to deliver, in what location. That was not revealed. It was generic what they revealed.
Also asking us some conservative commentary. Mike Waltz said last night that he had spoken to Elon Musk about figuring out how Jeffrey Goldberg's number got in his phone. You mentioned the NSC and the White House counsel's office investigating. Can you just clarify who is investigating, who's leading that, and also Dave Portnoy, who endorsed President Trump, said today that he thinks that Mike Waltz should leave. Could you respond to that?
Sure. Great respect for Dave Portnoy, but I just answered that previous question from Jennifer. As for your original question about who's looking into the messaging thread, the National Security Council, the White House counsel's office, and also, yes, Elon Musk's team. Elon Musk has offered to put his technical experts on this to figure out how this number was inadvertently added to the chat. Again, to take responsibility and ensure this can never happen again.
I have two questions. One on a follow-up on something you just said. That since we have these messages released, and you said that the president
has now personally reviewed them. In the chat, at one point, Pete said wrote 14-15 strike drones on target, and in all caps, he said, "This is when the first bombs will definitely drop." Does the president feel that he was misled by his national security advisors, whoever it was that told him there was no classified information in there?
There's no classified information in that text. What she just mentioned, what she just quoted. The classified information would be like what bombs and when and where exactly. It's generic. Come on. They're trying to just demonize Trump.
Philip, go ahead.
Thank you. The Vice President seemed to express some frustration that Europe wasn't doing more to police waterways in their backyard, noting in the signal thread that 40% of European trade goes through the Suez Canal. Does the President share that opinion and frustration? And then going forward, should Europeans be responsible for policing that waterway?
Well, the president was asked this question yesterday by the pool in the cabinet room, and he answered this question. He said yes, he believes that Europe has been, as the vice president put it, freeloading on the backs of American taxpayers and off the backs of the United States of America, and he wants to ensure that Europe pays their fair share. He's always been very honest and upfront about that, and I think the vice president shares those concerns with him as well.
Sure. Enlisted soldiers, sailors, and Marines would face consequences if they shared this type of information inadvertently with a reporter. Can you tell us more why the president is so willing to give Mike Waltz a mulligan here?
Again, I have now been asked and answered the same question using different language multiple times. If anybody has another question, there's a lot of different things going on in the world. We have tariffs possibly being implemented later today. The president is going to talk about that at 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Okay, thank you for taking my question. I wanted to first and foremost thank the administration for the election integrity executive order, because so many journalists for 4 years were banned from talking about this very subject. So thank you to the administration for that. My question is, yesterday, President Trump, when signing the order, said that there was more to come when it comes to election integrity. Would that include the same-day voting and hand-counted paper ballots? And why are Democrats so against election integrity measures like
because they try to steal the election. That's why.
Well, it's a very good question. You'll have to ask the Democrats why they're against so many common sense things, not just mandating voter ID. Why are they against men and women's sports? Why are they against deporting foreign terrorists from American soil who have
Thank you for asking that question. Dr. Paul Cottrell will take over from here. It's because the Democratic Party hates God, hates country, and hates families.
This one order, it directs the department, or the attorney general rather, in Homeland Security to prevent non-citizens from any involvement in administering elections. There's also another host of actions. We can provide the fact sheet for you, but it's a very strong election integrity executive order, and the president would also like to see Congress do something about this very important issue. Sure, go ahead.
Caroline, the Republicans and Democrats alike have been expressing some concern about the frequency with which senior Trump officials have been using this Signal app. Has there been discussion, or will there be a review about how often they use Signal, and if you could explain to us how they might be considering other applications to get away from something like this happening again?
Sure. Well, again, first of all, Signal has been an approved app for government use. It's an encrypted app, and as I said, it's the most safe and efficient way of communicating, especially when people can't be in a skiff or inside a room physically together. I think, as the president said yesterday, he wishes that everybody could be in the room, and it's our goal to ensure that everybody can be. But again, no classified information was discussed in this chat, and anytime classified information is discussed amongst high-level officials across this administration, secure lines of communication are used, including, by the way, our special envoy, Steve Witkoff, who I understand the Wall Street Journal erroneously reported that he was on this Signal chat on a personal device while in Moscow. That is absolutely false. Steve Witkoff did not have his personal device, nor did he have his government device with him. He was given a classified, protected server by the United States government, and he was very careful about his communications when he was in Russia. So rest assured, the American public, This administration is taking every precaution when it comes to protecting our national security. And that's why the American people reelected this president, because they know that our national security is in good hands with the President of the United States. Speaking of the Vice President, I understand he's going to be speaking any moment now. I would hate to counter-program the Vice President of the United States.
The VIX index has climbed now to 19 since the tariff announcement that's going to be taking place at about 4 o'clock. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the probiotics that I offer. You can get it in veggie cap form or in the powdered form. Just take a scoop per day. Very high quality probiotics. It's very important to take a probiotic for your overall foundational health. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the very high quality probiotics that I offer. Help support my work, and it's a win-win. You're helping support your health.
President Trump, in a news conference setting at 4 p.m. Eastern, talking about new tariffs possibly in the auto industry. Take a look at here at how the market is reacting to that new tariff news. We are down now 212 points in the red. That is a market swing of about 350 points on the Dow here today. So we are going to be keeping an eye on that for you. And also, it should be noted that
it's a big news announcement. Markets are gonna have more volatility here. Please go to my store and stack this great stack that will help with your brain health, your immune system, and your cardiovascular health. Let's talk about olive leaf extract. This will bring down inflammation. That's very important for your immune system and important to improve the health of your cardiovascular system. By bringing down inflammation, you're reducing plaque formation. By bringing down inflammation, you are improving your immune system. Olive leaf extract also improves your lipid profile. It'll bring down LDL levels and increase your HDL levels, which is really important for your cardiovascular health. And clarity factor will help to support memory, get rid of that brain fog so you can concentrate at work or in school, or if you're retired, you'll be able to focus on your tasks. You're going to have your neurons firing better. And when you have better neurons firing, you're going to have better neuroplasticity and better brain function and memory. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the olive leaf extract to help with your immune system and your cardiovascular system, and get the clarity factor to improve memory, support, and get rid of that brain fog. This is a great stack. Use discount 5 and you get $5 off.
The best friends that I've ever made in my life, I made them Marine Corps. People who came to my vice presidential inauguration, the president's inauguration just a couple of months ago, are people that I first met in boot camp or first met in follow-on school, first met at my first duty station. People who have held my children when they were little babies. People who I've helped welcome new children into the world. You guys have no idea that the people standing to your left and to your right, these are lifelong friends. They're going to follow you around, whether you want to or not, for the rest of your life. And I think that's one of the great blessings of the United States Marine Corps. And one of the things I learned from my great Marine friends, they remind me, is that this November, of course, our great Corps is going to celebrate 250 proud years. And as I know, because I've been to a few Marine Corps birthday balls myself, I'm sure it'll be a total sober, no alcohol celebration for the Marine Corps' 250th birthday. But from one Marine to another, let me just say that we are excited to celebrate the Marine Corps' 250th anniversary, 250 years of winning wars, 250 years of kicking ass and taking names. So here's the basic plan. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to invest in the Marine Corps and the entire United States military like we never have before. Over $1 trillion we're going to invest in building up the manufacturing base of this country so that you guys, when you do go to war, when you have to go to war, you've got the best weapons anywhere in the world. We know from the long history of the United States of America that while the leading edge of American power is you all, it really matters what you guys have in your hands and what you guys have on your backs when you go to war. And so I promised you, for the President of the United States, we are going to send you, if we have to send you to war, with the best equipment, the best ammunition, the best weapons, and we are going to empower you guys to win when you have to. That's the purpose of the United States Marine Corps, all right? So that's what we're going to do. And of course, I got some good news. You know, over the last few years, some of the military branches had some recruitment problems, not the Marine Corps. Actually, the Marine Corps was the one branch that consistently met its recruitment goals. And that probably has something to do with the fact that the Marine Corps is a little bit smaller, as you all know. But this year, now, we have got every single branch of the United States military for the past 2 months has been meeting its recruitment goals, because I think I see in your faces what we're seeing all across the country, a renewed sense of patriotism, a renewed commitment to excellence, and that is what is going to make the United States military the strongest fighting force anywhere in the world. So thank you all. Thank you for being part of it. Thank you for being part of 250 years of great American tradition. Thanks to you guys for being willing to put on the uniform and serve your country. I always say that the most important thing that we have in this country, the most valuable natural resource, we got plenty of oil, we got plenty of natural gas, we got great mines and minerals, but the most valuable resource that we have in the United States of America is you all. It's young people who are patriotic and dedicated, who are willing to put on the uniform of the United States and risk your lives to defend your fellow citizens. That's an amazing thing. I know it's easy to forget when you go about doing your jobs and you're just worried about getting through the day, worried about getting to the next week, worried about doing the good job that all of you do, that what you're doing is an amazing thing. And it's easy to forget that because you don't always have the vice president dropping in to say thank you. But I want you to remember that whether you serve another couple years in the United States Marine Corps, whether you're at the beginning of a 20 or 30-year career, that we respect you, we thank you, and this vice president and the president of the United States know that you guys are the most important resource that we have in the United States Marine Corps, in the United States of America. So thank you all, and God bless you.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Use this stack to help with your immune system and your cardiovascular system. Bring down inflammation. You can bring down inflammation with ashwagandha root by controlling your cortisol levels and controlling your blood glucose levels. Really important. And also turmeric. This brings down pro-inflammatory cytokines, so it's going to bring down chronic inflammation. That's important for your immune system. But also, it's an antioxidant, so it's going to soak up free radicals. And by bringing down inflammation and soaking up free radicals, you're helping with your immune system and your cardiovascular health. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get this dual purpose stack and get healthy in 2025. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. The link is in the description of this video.
A grateful nation. You guys just keep on doing what you're doing. We love you. We're proud of you. And we're going to support you every single step of the way. God bless you, Marines. Semper Fidelis.
Vice President J.D. Vance talking to his fellow Marines in Virginia and also acknowledging that, quote, the administration is going through something when it comes to this Atlantic piece on the signal warp plans leak. So again, we'll be following the very latest here for you on Live Now from Fox. We are going to hear from President Trump 2 times today. One at 3 p.m. Eastern, that is going to be for the Women's Month event that he will be bringing at the White House. And then at 4 p.m. Eastern, he will be talking about tariffs, and that will be a news conference setting. So we'll have all of that for you coming up here on Live Now from Fox. We'll slide away for a 2-minute break. We'll be back with much more.
All right. I want to go to Fox Business. GOP senator sends chilling warning over China dominance.
Welcome back. A Chinese delegation set to meet and talk tariffs with Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick today, along with U.S. Trade Representative Jamison Greer in Washington. Montana Senator Steve Daines recently back from China. He met with the Chinese premier in Beijing, paving the way for a possible U.S.-China summit later this year. The senator pressed Chinese officials, telling them they need to stop the flow of fentanyl precursors, not simply slow them down. Joining me now, the man himself, Montana Senator Steve Daines, just back from China, member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Senator, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here, and thanks for going to China to conduct these meetings. Tell us more about the trip. What do you come back from that meeting with?
Well, first of all, when you step back and look at the China-U.S. relationship, economically speaking, our two economies comprise about 43% of the total world economy. But look, at the moment, we've got some serious disagreements. One of the problems we face is a drug war. There's a lot of talk about the trade war that's looming right now with China, but there's a drug war that President Trump is committed to fighting and winning on behalf of the American people, and that's with fentanyl. The Chinese supply the raw material, they call them precursors, to the Mexican cartels, and they generate the fentanyl in Mexico, and that's what's killing nearly 100,000 Americans every year. So I made it very clear that President Trump is fighting a drug war, and we've got to win this war, and we're asking the Chinese to stop the flow of these precursors from China to Mexico.
So why do you think it's still going on then? I mean, President Trump has been talking about this for a long time. Why are they still selling the precursors or providing the precursors for fentanyl to the Mexican officials?
Well, look, it's a very lucrative business. We need the Chinese government to step up. We need Xi Jinping to publicly say this is over. We are not going to allow these precursors to go to Mexico. They have
No, what it is the Chinese are basically doing the same thing that happened during the Opium War, except they're using fentanyl. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get this stack that will help with your bone health and your cardiovascular health. All right? D3, and take it with the K2. Do some resistance training, taking calcium, and it'll help to improve your bone density. But also, D3 and K2 will help with your cardiovascular health, especially if you stack it with natto kinase. Natto kinase will break up clots because it's fibrinolytic, and natto kinase will help to bring down LDL levels and increase your HDL levels.
Some of these, we call them the non-tariff barriers that we face with China.
Yeah.
President Trump is taking a very strong approach. He's put about 20% worth of tariffs on the Chinese at this moment. I'm encouraged there's dialogue going. That's very much needed. I was only the second congressional delegation visit to China in 5.5 years. Wow. So it's important we've got the dialogue going on between our two countries because, again, we're 43% of the world's economy between our two countries.
Yeah, no, and that's why at the beginning of this, I thank you for going.
This is how you protect your house and family from dangerous intruders. This new subscription-free Guardian monitor delivers more advanced security features.
At the beginning of this, I thank you for going. I recognize the importance of this, but what do they have to say about our blacklist? The Commerce Department added more than 50 Chinese companies to the export blacklist yesterday for their alleged involvement in developing advanced AI supercomputer and chips for military purposes, Senator. We also keep finding Chinese nationals trying to get into our military installments. Why?
Yeah, well, look, this is a very serious threat to the United States, our national security, no doubt about it. And President Trump is taking a very aggressive and hardline stance, as he should. The Chinese now are a military superpower in the world. That's why it's very important that we have, I'll call it strategic decoupling in terms of this technology companies that pose a risk to our national security. We also have strategic coupling as we've got tremendous opportunities for U.S. businesses in China. Nearly $500 billion a year generated revenues to great American companies like Boeing, like FedEx. They've got to have access into that market to keep driving their top line revenues and then funding their long-term R&D.
Well, Senator, while you were in China, you also raised Beijing allowing the expiration of part of Trump's 2020 Phase 1 trade deal with China that granted hundreds of U.S. meat plants access to China. Now, they never finished doing what they promised they would do. So I think when President Trump first came in, a lot of people said, well, look, they still have to complete the trade deal, which they stopped buying our agriculture under Biden. Doesn't the CCP or China begin on the back foot as it is with tariffs because they never even completed what they promised they would do with President Trump in the first term?
Absolutely. In fact, 5.5 years ago, it was Senator then David Perdue, who will soon be the U.S. ambassador to China, and myself who were there in Beijing negotiating that phase one trade deal with then Vice Premier Liu He. They've fallen way short on that phase one trade deal. And so that'll be an important part of negotiations going forward with the Chinese. They were supposed to spend $200 billion of additional U.S. purchases. They've fallen well short of that, less than 50% of that, as well as a number of other, we'll call these non-tariff issues, things like intellectual property protection, licensing, and so forth.
Right, exactly, which is what I mentioned, the intellectual property theft. Look, I want to switch gears, get your take on where we are in the reconciliation package. You all are back now, and I know you're all in on getting something done to execute President Trump's agenda, but the president wants the debt ceiling increase as Republicans work on the tax portion of the budget bill. Senator, tell us what you can about the reconciliation bill and whether or not you are going to be able to get the tax extensions in there early on this year.
Well, I made it very clear to my colleagues and to President Trump, and President Trump's now made it very clear we need permanence in our tax policy. We're facing a $4.5 trillion tax increase the first of the year if Congress doesn't act. We've got to take that off the table going forward. That's why, as we put together this tax bill, it needs to be made permanent. Remove the uncertainty that Congress places on the private sector, which reduces capital expenditure as well as hiring because they don't know what Congress is going to do. And so this is a very significant moment. One of the most important things we got to deliver here in Washington is to make these tax cuts permanent. Regarding the debt ceiling, I think it's probably wise to put that in this bill. Either we're going to pass a debt ceiling increase with Republican votes, or the alternative is negotiate with Chuck Schumer for a debt ceiling increase. And you can see he would exact a huge price in exchange for a debt ceiling increase. That's what we're better off to pass is with Republican votes through the reconciliation process.
Well, that's what Nancy Pelosi said the other day. She said something like, I never give anything away for free. And that's what we did with Schumer agreeing to the GOP budget bill to avert a government shutdown. So I don't think they're going to do that again, give something away, quote unquote, for free. But I want to get your take on how this plays out, because I was speaking with one of your colleagues the other day, and she said to me, look, we're talking about 3 bills. And I was thinking, wow, 3 bills. So the first bill is defense and border, and obviously you just said debt ceiling. The second portion of it is the economics part, some tax, and then the third bill, the kitchen sink is what she called it, meaning no tax on tips and no tax on Social Security and overtime. Is that what is also being talked about, potential for 3 bills this year?
Well, there's been a 1 bill, 2 bill, and 3 bill discussion here on Capitol Hill. Look, I think where we're probably going to land is in 1 bill. And talking to Speaker Johnson, I think he'll have a difficult time passing it in a piecemeal fashion. I think it's more likely than not this will be 1 bill. I know that's what President Trump would like to see. The most important thing is we have to get 218 Republican votes in the House, 51 votes in the U.S. Senate. Those are the 2 key numbers. That's what we're focused on. Because this 1, 2, or 3 bill is just a means. The end is getting this legislation passed on President Trump's desk. It'll be a tremendous boost to this economy. We can restore certainty in these Trump tax cuts.
All right, we will be watching your work. I know it's a big job.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the second pillar of my core protocol, and it's C60. This is a very strong antioxidant to soak up free radicals. All right. Now you can get it in avocado oil, MCT coconut oil, or extra virgin olive oil. Now C60 has to be in an oil for you to be able to absorb it properly. Take it on an empty stomach for best absorption. If you work out, take it before your workout, and you're going to be soaking up free radicals that you're generating during your workout, and you're going to recover quicker. You're going to notice that your recovery time is quicker. Take this every day, even if you don't work out. Take a teaspoon a day, every day. And what it's going to do is it's going to soak up free radicals, and it's going to help to improve the health of your mitochondria, and your energy is going to go up. And with more ATP, that means that your tissues and your cells are going to perform better. And it will also help with your neurons. Mitochondria health that's improved in your neurons, especially when you get older, will improve your concentrations of ATP, and that ATP in the neuron is going to help produce the neurotransmitters and to shoot off those neurotransmitters. So if you have healthier neurons, then you're going to have better neuroplasticity. Really important. So to improve your different organ systems, including your immune system and your endocrine system and your brain, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Take the C60, take a teaspoon a day every day. It's going to soak up free radicals, and you're going to see other improvements with your body. Like, for example, some people notice that their eyesight improves, or you're going to have more energy and more vitality, or your endocrine system is improving, or your immune system is improving. So there's lots of things that are going to improve, but there's a compound effect. If you're soaking up those free radicals, you're reducing the stress that's on the cell, and the cell is allowed to heal, and your tissues are allowed to heal because there's less stress. And it just makes sense that your different organ systems are going to perform better. So when you get older, your ATP goes down, the health of your mitochondria goes down, your free radicals will start to go up. So you're oxidizing more, you're rusting more when you get older, and your immune system is worse off, and just your bodily systems, including your endocrine system, doesn't work as properly when you are in your geriatric years. So you want to mitigate that. You want to soak up those free radicals, reduce the stress, reduce the oxidation that's in the tissues, and allow for your body to heal. So please go to my store, get the C60, either in avocado oil, extra virgin olive oil, or MCT coconut oil. Take a teaspoon a day, every day. You can get it in a 2 ounce, a 4 ounce, or an 8 ounce configuration. This is a very high quality product, and it'll help you to soak up free radicals. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. C60 is great to stack with resveratrol, NAD+, ubiquinol, even Clarity Factor. It's a great product, and it's part of my core health protocol. Max 35 or max 14 for the first pillar. The second pillar is the C60 to soak up free radicals, bring down inflammation with turmeric, ashwagandha, and lignans. And then the fourth pillar of the core is to take Boomer Boost to boost up your energy levels and your metabolism. So please go to my store, get the C60. I am the most comprehensive on giving you a health protocol that is affordable, all right? And it's taking decades of just what I have been doing, because I've been taking supplements and antioxidants since I was 16 years old, and also learning with new products that are coming online, and learning on how to stack them and how to tweak it. And it's a holistic approach. It's not just supplementation. It's about proper supplementation and how you stack. Proper exercise, that means cardio, weight training, stretching, and balancing. All four of those are really important. Proper sleep, mindfulness or spirituality to calm down your central nervous system and go into parasympathetic, very important. And learning new things to get that neuroplasticity, that positive neuroplasticity, and talking to people. It's a holistic approach. If someone just says, just do spirituality, or just do yoga, or just take supplements, you're doing it wrong. It's a holistic approach to get the max benefit. So please go to my store, follow my lead on this, and slow down the aging process, boost up your energy levels, and you'll have more vitality. So thank you for supporting my work. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. That's the end of this transmission. I'll do another one tonight. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day.